let me just start recording. We're gonna do the next crazy part apparently. But the fact that my own bro Cammy told Wiz to spoil me, I think that's like, I don't like, we know when it comes to mods spoiling, no, we know mods don't let other people spoil, otherwise they get the ban hammer or they get timed out. But the fact that the fact that our own mod Cammy told Wiz, I don't know if it doesn't happen. I know she's good. What happened though? Apparently, this dude Cammy told Wiz to spoil me in a very natural way, but he just revealed it, and I was like, "Whoa, what the fuck?" It was like some Terrifier shit. And he said, "Man, I don't think it. There has to be something. Or it's like maybe like Audrey had a dream that happened. What did he spoil? I don't know, man. We'll see." Fucking Wiz was laughing when he told me, so I don't think it's too serious. Oh shit, it's in my volume 6 discussion. I'll put a spoiler warning in the volume 6 discussion. But are you guys fucking ready for today? Apparently, this is some people's like all-time favorite chapter. Apparently, allegedly, this is a few people said this is their favorite chapter of all time in LOTM. So I genuinely think there's gonna be a nuclear drama part 2. And it'd be my own people that betrayed me like that. It's peak. I'm excited. All right, enough about the nuclear drama. We will do a nuclear drama part 2. Maybe we'll drop it tomorrow. If we snippet it, I can screen record it from my phone. I'll have it up tonight. We'll title it Nuclear Drama Part 2. Oh yeah, we doing 13:35. We got 2 hours. I don't gotta go to bed for like another 3.5 hours, brothers and sisters. We got time. I don't think I'm hanging out with Mrs. She said she might be busy. I think she said she had to go out. But I'm gonna just put my phone on silent for now. Chapter 1327. Dude, we are on a fucking roll today. We're actually reading 20 chapters today. We spaced them out clearly, but we did 20 chapters today, and we're doing 20 chapters back to back on Tuesday. So I'll see you guys for that. And then Monday, tomorrow, we might be able to knock out a few more chapters. So that means we are finishing volume 7 sometime between Tuesday and Friday. And then we will immediately have our volume 7 discussion with Wiz. So I do not forget, because I don't want to have that volume 7 discussion before we finish or start 8. So I think we're good. You know what, Boza? Amen, brother. I'm not hanging out with my girl so I can watch real to him, forget the women. Just make her watch the stream. Just be like, just start explaining, like, so this is actually what's gonna happen today. Yo, and by the way, Flames, Lowland Flames, thank you for being a member, bro. Welcome to level 1. Now you can spam beautiful LE emotes and all our other based emotes. Are you guys ready? 1327, and I thought we weren't recording our intro. We're good. Let's get right into it. No stalling today. Thank you, man. I hope you guys are excited, because you guys are kind of hyping me up. I'm like, what the fuck happens in chapter 1335 when it's not even the finale? Damn, today is popping off. We fucking popping off today. Thank you, guys. Chapter 1327 is called 3 Plans. As for the Marionette Town, Klein had been thinking about how to build it long time ago. Oh my god, he is going to digest his potion. I think that's what's going to happen. He had already come up with 3 plans. Oh, these are the 3 plans. Let's go. Let me raise volume. If he eliminated any interference for external factors, his best choice would be somewhere in a certain country of the northern continent. It would allow his marionette town to rise up overnight. Furthermore, he would connect it to the surrounding cities through the roadway, riverboards, and roads. Holy shit, man. That's crazy. Thank you, man. This way, the marionette town would have large numbers of outsiders arriving on a daily basis, and it would create a very strong interaction with the surrounding areas. On the one hand, a town without a city nearby would definitely purchase grain, salt, clothes. I thought I said Oreos. Ores, sugar, and other daily necessities. On the other hand, it would also produce its own products, which could be sold to neighboring cities, towns, and villages. I'm sorry that the notifications are looping, but holy shit, man. Thank you. I think I have my notifications playing twice. I don't know how I did that. So because you said 5 gifted, I think it's playing the sound effect 10 times. I don't know. I need to look into that. Under such a situation, merchant workers, tourists, and other groups would go back and forth frequently. At the same time, they would interact more with the Marionette's town residents. Under the influence of all kinds of interactions between parties, it would be long before the town of Marionettes could produce a corresponding region in the spirit world. Once the lives of the residents became more detailed and real, Klein could consume the potion to advance to Sequence 1 to Tentative Mysteries. This would take less than 3 months, but the problem was that this approach couldn't be kept confidential. In the present era, to have a town suddenly pop off was something that couldn't be hidden from people. Soon, there would be civil servants, the police, and reporters coming to investigate, and after that, the interactions between the parties would also make more and more people know and understand the city. This was a problem that couldn't be resolved through illusions. Unless the town of marionettes didn't interact with surrounding cities, towns, and villages and had relatively minor interactions, however, that wouldn't meet the requirements of the ritual. When news of the marionette town spread, Klein would undoubtedly be targeted by Zaratul amongst True Body and other enemies when the time came. The destruction caused by others would definitely be easier than him protecting it. He could only migrate his marionette's towns elsewhere. This would cause the interactions generated in the early stages to be for naught, just like what the dark demonic wolf had experienced. Therefore, Klein had only listed down such a plan, so he basically wouldn't choose it unless a certain visionary was willing to provide help. Oh no. Wait, if he's saying certain visionary, is he talking about fucking Adam would be willing to provide help? Cap? Making all the living beings in northern and southern continents naturally believe that there was indeed a town there, one that hadn't suddenly appeared. Considering the influence of various external factors and his beyond powers, Klein's best choice was to establish a town on an uninhabited island that deviated from the safe sea route and was sufficiently well hidden. However, he would then use Sephira Castle to give it anti-divination and anti-prophecy properties. At the same time, Klein would use the curtain to graft some roads, rivers, and railways to somewhere outside the marionette town, making it a stop for rounding groups of people during their journeys. This couldn't be kept completely confidential, but once the strange phenomenon spread and attracted Zaratul and Amon's attention, Klein could easily remove the original grafting randomly and switch the entrance. Under such, who else can be the visionary? Well, I mean, I'm like, maybe there's a secret visionary that we don't know about. But I feel like there would have been build up to that. Under such a tragedy, the movement was limited to the entrance, not the marionette town itself. The effects of various interactions in the spirit world could be preserved without. I'm sorry, wait, no, they couldn't. It's impossible for there to be another one. Duh. Without being interrupted, the ritual could steadily proceed as planned. Of course, there was a big problem with this plan. It was that the interaction would be limited and couldn't influence matters at a daily level in all aspects. In addition, the frequency and intensity of the interaction wouldn't be too high. If he chose this plan, it meant that Klein had to spend more than half a year, even a year, on the ritual. If he wanted to be safe, forcing every marionette's face to have a beginning and an end, the ritual would take at least 50 years. However, there was also a way to get around the limitations. Once the rest of the ritual's requirements were met, he could deliver a meteorite strike. So now he's calling down meteors rather than him being hit by them. An earthquake or a volcano eruption to the town, causing all the marionette's fates to come to an end in the real world. It was something that happened in real life and was rather unreasonable. In this radical and conservative proposal, Klein had another solution. I feel like Witcher music is not that fitting. Wait, those are the war horns. Let's just fucking play some Expedition. Sorry if you guys are talking about Expedition, I really like this game. It was to replicate a city and make the marionette correspond to the residents of the city and be mapped 1-to-1. For evil miracle invokers, they could wipe out the original city and use their marionettes to replace its inhabitants. Those who had a kind heart would hide the city and ensure a supply of goods. And the reason as to why one didn't convert the target into the marionettes was that it already had a corresponding region in the spirit world. Without being a newly born one, it didn't meet the requirements of the ritual. With a curtain formed by the attendant mysteries beyond characteristics, Klein could make a better choice, graft a city on a particular stage to be his marionette town. This meant that his town of marionettes had to become the dark side of the city. In the corresponding period of time, outsiders would encounter marionettes and not real people. Once that period of time passed, they would leave the town of marionettes and return to the real world to deal with the real people. During the process, Klein would send his marionettes to act as an outsider, maintain interactions with a corresponding real person, allowing the real outsiders to return to the real world without any gaps. In other words, there were two different lives playing out in the same city at the same time, but no one could notice that. Occasionally, some people would think that some details weren't right, but would find it inexplicable and might just ignore it. This was rather in line with the characteristics of the Attendant Mysteries, and it had a certain level of concealment. Of course, this plan had also had its problem. It was to simulate the fate of a marionette to a very high level. Almost as similar as humans, without its own independence, it would cause the ritual effects to fail. Klein tapped the edge of the long model table with his fingers and was in a dilemma over the second and third plan. After a few seconds, he did as his heart willed, cowardness, and chose the second plan. He would rather spend more time than affect the fates of the innocent. Good fucking shit, man. Good for him. You forgot to make me mod on this. Wait, no, I just got back. I'm sorry. So, back then, Zarathustra, taken as likely, chose the third plan. Klein sighed and prepared to return to the real world. At this moment, he looked at Jung Pao and considered whether he should send a revelation to change the descriptions in the City of Silver Holy Bible. To a deity, the Holy Bible wasn't anything too important. Its best use was for its convenience to spread its teachings and to increase the number of anchors. Klein had long come to conclusion from the revelation of Evernight, the Book of Storms, and the contents of the various Orthodox churches' Holy Bible. Wait a fucking second, as I just realized something. Remember that volume 1 Lord of the Mysteries explained? Mom was ringing the fucking bell. Wait a second, so he added that little hint where Amon becomes like his angel ringing the bells of like heavens. That was actually kind of fucking funny. And you guys played that off so easily, like, no, that's not Amon. Wait a second, I just fucking realized that. That is so funny. Wait, what the fuck? Wait, hold up. That doesn't make sense. We heard a bell in episode 1. Wait, you're giving me eyes. Easy. Wait. I'm realizing something. Wait. Was there more to that? Oh shit. Wait. So, I'm about to pull up episode 1. It's okay. I won't even look it up. Hold up. I'm trying to look up episode 1's clearly on YouTube. Overthink install. No, we're not gonna overthink install. No, I'll think about that later. Klein had long come to conclusion from the revelations of the Evernight, the Book of Storms, and the contents of the various Orthodox churches' holy Bibles. No, we're not stalling. I was thinking I was gonna have like a Jimmy Neutron brain blast, but I'm like, I wonder if there was more behind him ringing the bell. Because he kind of did it like half jokingly when it did that, just fucking around with Klein. But I'm like, maybe there's more behind it because we hear the bell in episode 1, right? And I'm like, huh. And then I was thinking of the episode 1 explain thing, and I'm like, huh, wait a sec, there might be more behind it. But I'll look at it later. Most of the content elevated the Orthodox deities, making random claims of grandeur and express mercy and pity. In ancient times, the impression that believers had of the deities would indeed have a negative impact on the deities. But now, with the use of symbols instead of statuses, this latent problem no longer existed. At the very least, the Evernight goddess, the Lords of Storms, and other deities openly declared that they were part of the Creator's original plan. They weren't worried that it would exacerbate the awakening of the oldest one. In other words, if there really was a problem with the aspect, Klein believed that the Evernight goddess would definitely have changed the corresponding description. She would have changed the description of being one of the eyes of the Creator to a child spawned by him. It's to enjoy a very high status. At the same time, the believers' acknowledgement of these certain matters would have any burden on the deities themselves in a mysticism sense. Otherwise, Amon would have secretly helped Klein, or rather prepare a batch of believers to former Sephira Castle to lure them into forming the belief that the Angel of Time was a manifestation of the Lords of Mysteries. I'm sorry, I can't get used to that. I was like, what title drop again? It was just so cool, dude. Lord of the Mysteries. With the aid of the instinctual response that met the requirements, he could establish enough connections with Sephira Castle and open a back door to a deity. The Holy Bible only had 2 important components other than for spreading the faith. Yo, man, take care, dude. Gotta head out for a little bit. No, it's okay, love. We'll still be live. Firstly, it was a description of the authority and honorific name of the deities themselves. If there were any mistakes, it would lead to the prayers of the believers pointing to an unknown target. Now, not only would it be dangerous to the believers, but it would also cause the deities to lose their anchor. Secondly, that would be bad. Secondly, any descriptions involved the other churches would easily attract conflict. As for the angels and saints, the deities actually didn't pay them too much mind. The ones that cared were the angels of the saints themselves. It's because they need to obtain a certain level of anchors through this. Therefore, the Holy Bible descriptions of angels and saints were detailed enough. They had the authority and honorific names, making it easier for different believers to choose and be immersed. In addition, this wasn't enough to form a stable anchor because it was under the faithful deity. In order to resolve this problem, the Orthodox churches would define certain cathedrals to different guardian angels and guardian saints and clearly differentiate them. Due to this knowledge, Klein didn't pay too much attention to the Holy Bible. After he finished reading descriptions about his authority and honorific name, he stopped continuing out of embarrassment. He only used divination to confirm that the contents wouldn't result in a conflict with the Orthodox churches. After some thought, he gave up the idea of directly sending the revelation to change the Holy Bible and decided to use a gentler method. Which would be what? During the Terraclops exchange, he could use the word Grimmisbro to guide the son into adjusting his understanding of the situation, turning the parts involving the Angel of Time to Palazaros, allowing the corresponding context to be fixed without causing any suspicion in the City of Silver. Bayam Verdu Abraham has obtained quite a bit of mysticism knowledge and a few beyond circles. He lit up the gas wall lamp and carefully read it in the night. Towards the end, he suddenly read a piece of news that he had never understood before. Bansi Harbor is a place filled with mysticism powers. Its connection with the spirit world and the astral world is beyond our imagination. Even with church storms directly destroying the harbor, it still can completely eliminate the abnormality of its existence. Many mysticism researchers are purchasing items related to the Bansi at high price. Bansi further muttered to himself, suddenly having a strong interest in the harbor. He began considering if he should buy some items from Bansi and do a thorough study of them. After all, his spirit world was related to teleportation. The astral world and the cosmos involved wandering and might involve Mr. Dor Bethel, Abraham's method of escaping. I wonder, this bitch has to escape at the end of book 1. There's no shot. Like, we've had so much setup of him escaping or him not escaping for him to not get out. Like, he has to be around in book 2 in COI. Perhaps if I have a chance, I could go to Bansi, take a look. Verdu nodded indiscriminately. All right, let's go. Next chapter. Chapter 1328 is called The Preparations Needed. The initial preparations for building a marionette town were rather boring and tedious. At the very least, Klein believed so. In the ancient palace, Klein sat on a high-backed chair belonging to the fool, holding a fountain pen. There were ordinary pieces of paper with the name, age, and the fate of every marionette. As he made the worm of spirit emerge from his body, they formed avatars beside him. Some Klein sat on the ground, while others occupied the 21 seats other than the fools. Some conjured beds and laid on them. Then they summoned different books from the junk pile. This is test run. Then they summoned different books from the junk pile and started reading them seriously. The books included, but were not limited to, how to brew wine, train dispatching, dessert making compendium, a clergyman prepares, gas wall lamps, gas meters, and all kinds of family machinery repairs, Desi Lekay, harbor management, foundations of law. Cooking or cooked? What do we cook or cooked? Did I say something? Ladies' aesthetics magazines. There were specialist knowledge that different marionettes needed to grasp. Only by doing so would they be able to act their roles well, allowing him to be realistic in every aspect. Even if they were to engage in deep conversation with outsiders, they wouldn't expose any problems. That's crazy, dude. He has to be able to pull this shit off. It wouldn't be difficult if he just needed to simply memorize the knowledge, but he had to truly grasp and apply it. Furthermore, he couldn't confuse his characters. He could let a burly and strong switchman with a low income be talking about wonders of a particular skincare product or which silk cloths was flawed. If such a situation were to happen in novels, plays, and operas, it might create a strange attraction, but putting it in the real world was clearly uncanny and not beneficial to the advancement of the ritual. To avoid such a problem, Klein could only work harder in the early stages. He hoped that every character in a marionette town would be real, whole, and appropriate. Fortunately, there weren't many people in the city who needed to deeply understand the corresponding specialist knowledge. Most of the residents were half illiterate or really illiterate. They relied on experience to live their lives, and they repeated via emotions. For those characteristics, the knowledge that Klein needed to grasp was relatively little, just like workers who had gone through simple training, or even without any training, to be sent to the assembly line. After no known period of time, Klein put down his fountain pen and rubbed his temples, letting out a long sigh of relief. He had finally written down the information about nearly 5,000 residents in the marionette town, and his corresponding knowledge of preparation was almost complete. This is like a super large scale movie directed by a director, and with me being the scriptwriter, same for the lighting, engineering, the makeup artist, and all the anchors for this ritual, I'm really on the verge of losing control. You better stop right there. If I'm not careful, my personality would disassociate and all fall into the abyss of madness. Luckily, I have a professional psychologist. Yes, I have to pay attention to a problem in the town's operations. Although I'm a gentleman with manners, most of the residents in town have a low socioeconomic status. Be it speaking or acting, the more inclined towards being vulgar. I can't make a mistake during the acting and become set back by my psychological barriers. Klein silently as the avatars around him distinguished into worms of spirit before heat got them to burrow into his body. Of course, this wasn't all. There were also one client who maintained his previous state, preparing to be on Safari Castle duty. In the next second, Klein returned to the real world and took out creeping hunger from the historical void. Then he teleported to an island that was located in the Berserk Sea, but one that clearly deviated from the safe sea route. This was the stage he had chosen before. This place was isolated from the storms all year round. There were no signs of human activity, only a large forest and animals that lived off the forest. Klein looked around and chose an open area. He pressed his right hand to his left chest and prayed sincerely, "I wish that Jersey City suited for 5,000 people here." And it happens. Just as he said that, Klein raised his right hand and snapped his fingers. Suddenly, this open area became extremely flat. The surrounding forest also receded greatly, providing large amounts of wood, stones, and soils. Almost at the same time, buildings rose up from the ground. They took form with stone and wood. The highest wasn't more than 4 stories high. The style was closer to the Lone Kingdom's Desi Bay. In just a blink of an eye, residential buildings, a library, a police station, a telegraph office, a city hall, a small hospital, a candy factory, a water plant, a gas company, a steam locomotive station, parallel train tracks, and plant. That's a lot, man. Holy shit. This, and that. And plantations outside the city took form. The streets were also paved with cement or stone bricks. Towards the end, on the square in the middle of the town, a pointed-tip cathedral emerged from the ground and stood proudly. This was a cathedral belonging to the Evernight goddess, and it was in line with the background setting of the city. I hope this island has a deep sea harbor. Klein didn't stop as he made a second wish. Pa. He snapped his fingers again, fulfilling his wish. About 3 kilometers away from the town, a small-scale harbor quickly took shape, and there were 2 docks, 5 warehouses, a port hotel, a simple restaurant, a police station branch, a bar, a lighthouse, and a naval base. I wish for the harbor and the town to have convenient transportation. Klein made a third wish. He raised his right hand and snapped his fingers. A concrete road and a cargo rail instantly appeared between the town and the harbor. According to Klein's plan, a portion of the harbor was prepared for visitors by sea. The town was mainly for outsiders from the northern and southern continent. As he looked at the empty city with admiration, Klein pressed his top hat and teleported to the municipal square. He walked step by step into the cathedral named St. Ariana Cathedral. The cathedral's door was open and it was dark inside. After an unknown period of time, 3 figures appeared at the door. They were a 30-year-old gentleman in a formal suit with a tie, an ordinary-looking and gentle-looking woman, and a child who was dressed like an adult. The woman took a few steps with difficulty before stretching her neck. Then she smiled and reached out her hands to hold the gentleman's arm. The gentleman had a faint smile on his face as he allowed the lady to lean on him. He reached out his right hand and held the boy. The little boy was skipping about, appearing very lively. Their actions were a little rough at first, but the more they walked, the smoother they became as they walked through the square. This is crazy. We got SimCity RL. My man's fucking playing SimCity. Yeah. Their actions were a little rough at first, but the more they walked, the smoother they became as they walked through the city square. After they left, more and more people walked out the St. Ariana Cathedral. They consisted of the police, repair workers, gas company employees, restaurant chefs, white-haired old men, and simply just farmers. In the next hour, people constantly came out of the Evernight Cathedral. They either turned to different streets and went to different places, entering different houses, stopping at the square, or enjoying the pigeon-less scenery. During this process, the number of people that came out had exceeded the limits of the cathedral capacity, but there seemed to be no end to the people, as though the interior was connected to another city. After another 15 minutes, the entrance to St. Ariana Cathedral finally fell silent. However, there were rats, cockroaches, moths, ants, flies, and mosquitoes creeping outwards. Finally, a colorful window at the top of the cathedral opened, with the pigeons flowing out and landing in the middle of the square. The people who had stayed there came to life completely. Some teased the pigeons, others looked Others looked for hawkers, while some played a 7-string guitar and others smiled as they conversed with their friends. This is so crazy. Klein is fucking doing all this. A man wearing a top hat and trench coat and carrying a cane left the municipal square. He came to the other side of the town and stopped in front of a wooden board. He took out his tools and wrote the name of the town on the wooden board. Yarnum? Oh man, Cuttlefish loves Bloodborne. Fucking Yarnum? After some thought, the man wiped away Yarnum. He wiped it away. After some thought, the man wiped away Yarnum and wrote another name, Utopia. Oh, that's so funny, dude. That is so sick. Is that Utopia? I like that. He made Utopia. Backland inside. I kind of like Yarnum though. Backland inside of the Hall family's luxurious villa. Alfred has already boarded the cruise ship back to the northern continent. Audrey didn't hide her surprise. It was September 1352. In the past half a year, Audrey didn't spend too much effort to make her father give up the thought of returning to the east, Chester County, for the first half of the year. This is because there was a pressing need to rebuild Backland and Constant City. The kingdom's political scene also needed a new balance. Earl Hall had too many things to handle and wasn't in the mood for a vacation. Therefore, whenever Earl Hall was put in a different spot, she just needed to take the initiative to say that she was willing to remain in Backland and return to the East Chester County. In the next 6 months, to have things develop as she wanted and receive praise for. As a psychology alchemist, they didn't rush here either. Up to now, the Psychology Alchemist Council meeting had been held 3 times. It was mainly to communicate their research results of the various informations of the areas under their jurisdiction. Only Ma'am Greed, I told Wiz she was Pride. I meant Greed. I'm sorry. Wait. No, I lied. Only Ma'am Greed has asked about the clues to the Mind Dragons twice. To be frank, if Mr. Fool had reminded Audrey to take note of the rabbit, Raph, an easily forgettable president, she would definitely find the conference interesting. Mr. Rabbit has plenty of ideas, but she remained as vigilant as ever. Yes, the liner has already left the harbor. Earl Hall smiled and nodded. When Alfred arrives in Backland and completes the necessary social intercourse, we will return to East Chester County for fox hunting. Autumn was the best time to hunt foxes. Audrey tersely acknowledged, all right. As a major general in the army, Alfred didn't follow the naval fleet to Desi Bay. Oh shit, her brother. Alfred didn't follow the naval fleet to Desi Bay. Instead, he led his adjustments in squires and boarded a steam-powered sailboat hybrid for Prince Harbor. After traveling for nearly 2 days, they encountered a storm in the Berserk Sea. As the ship shook violently, the sailors on the observatory saw some light through their telescopes. It came from a lighthouse. A lighthouse. Author notes, I wrote in detail 3 plans in the previous chapter because I felt the 3rd plan was most impactful, but it's impossible for Klein to undertake it with his character, so I had unfortunately given it up. Oh, he had that in mind? I specifically wrote it out for all of you to have a sense of what's the most bizarre and mysterious method. Okay. That's it. Audrey is now a Full Metal Alchemist. Long story short, she's in Full Metal Alchemist. Okay, let's keep reading. Chapter 1329 is called A Night Without Any Abnormalities. I think I really like Force, man. I get it. I get why people like Force so much. I really like her character. I'll see. I will make my final decision when we finish book 1. Obviously, yeah, I really like Force. She's a really good character. Audrey's really growing on me. Growing on me the more I read about her. She's really interesting. But I kind of do like Force a little bit more, just because I feel like Force is a little bit more goofy here and there, but she still has like these high moral standards. But we'll see. Chapter 1329 is called A Night Without Any Abnormalities. The liner passed through the storm and approached the lighthouse. A small-scale harbor entered the sights of the captain, sailors, and passengers through the gloomy rain. A short while later, a man in his 30s who was wearing a blue uniform and holding onto a black umbrella and a glass lantern appeared at the dock. He used rather uncommon actions to guide the liner to more. As the man watched the gangway lower, he opened his mouth and shouted, "Hey, matey, where'd you come from?" After most of his voice was swallowed by the wind, his voice successfully reached the liner interior and entered Alfred's ears. "Do you know what this place is?" Alfred looked carefully at his adjutant and squire. He wasn't wearing a general ceremonial attire, wearing a black trench coat that was completely seen in Backland. His dazzling blonde hair drooped down casually as his blue eyes looked like a deep lake in a forest. The adjutant, I cannot pronounce that word, the adjutant, who had neatly combed his hair to the back, first shook his head to indicate his uncertainty before he explained, "The storm from before made me lose my bearings." At this moment, the captain held an umbrella and came to the shipboard. He answered the man, "We left eastbound 2 days ago and unfortunately encountered a storm. What harbor is this?" The man's eyes darted around for a moment. While giving a direct answer, he shouted, "Wait a moment, will ya?" He then turned around, holding the umbrella and the lantern as he ran towards the buildings near the dock. This reaction was beyond the expectations of Alfred and the other passengers, but it wasn't strange for the experienced ship captain, first mate, and the others. They had encountered many abnormalities at the port along the Berserk Sea. This made them patiently wait for the subsequent developments. 5 to 6 minutes later, the man led to a lady over. The woman didn't have an umbrella and was wearing a hooded raincoat smeared with Donningsman tree sap. As the two of them approached the liner under the watch of the armed sailors, they climbed up the gangway to the deck. At such a distance, most of the passengers finally saw that the two of them looked alike. The man had brown hair and brown eyes, his skin was rough, and it was obvious that he was a lower socioeconomic status and had suffered the elements. The woman was in her 20s, and her eyes were limped green. She had long flaxen hair, a few wet strands clung to her face, making her appear pure and charming. Who is this? This was a rather pretty lady with a pretty woman? Stop. I am not getting my hopes up. Ain't no fucking way. Is she back? Is Trissy back? This was a... Yo, you guys got chill. You guys better not be baiting me. Well, no, better not be Trissy. Do not bait me. Don't do this to me. This was a rather pretty lady with a wild temperament. Oh, shit. Here we go. Is it her? Hi there, this is Utopia Harbor. The man impatiently introduced. I'm Theor, the interim port captain. As he spoke, he laughed as though he was happy they have invented such an amazing position. Of course, the ship captain knew what a so-called interim port captain meant. He didn't take it too hard about this sudden happiness of a small fry. He frowned slightly and said, the Utopia Harbor, why haven't I heard of it? Theodore looked at him and said, what you said is quite common. If it weren't for the land lubber hurricane, ye might... Oh my, it's so hard to read like this type of act, like pirate talk. Ye might never come here. Without waiting for him to say anything else, the lady rushed forward and said, Utopia isn't on the safe sea route. Usually, only people who understand these waters are known of this place will come here for supplies. So the main clientele of this harbor are pirates. How can the ship captain not be able to tell what she meant? And in times like this, tactfully acknowledging things without exposing them provided protection to both sides. He tersely acknowledged and said, and you are... Oh! Fuck! I thought it said Trissy. I was about... Fucking... Who the fuck is Tracy? Get up! Hey, man. We have to let Trissy go. We have No, who the fuck is Tracy? God, I saw the T and the Y and I'm like, no fucking way Trissy is back. I was like, holy shit, she's finally gonna be a Terror Club member in Volume 8. My name is Tracy. Shit the fuck up. I don't even, if she dies this arc, I ain't gonna give a fuck. That's all I'm gonna say. My name is Tracy. The lady smiled. I'm the owner of the Harbor Hotel and also the recipients and attendants. Get out of here. She surveyed the area and said, it's quite a heavy storm and the ship will be bumpy. It's not a wise choice to stay in the rest. The hotel will provide you with stable beds, warm waters, clean food, warm blankets, and an environment that will remind you of you. It's only 10 pence a night. I'm referring to the price of a single room. Other than that, you guys can still drink at the nearby bar and enjoy our warm hospitality. Clearly, this lady was here to solicit for business. The captain was rather alert and didn't respond directly. He nodded and said, I can't decide on behalf of the passengers. They are free to choose for themselves. Of course, as captain, I'll stay here with my crew. Tracy maintained her smile and said, I'll wait at the hotel for guests who are willing to disembark. She seemed to have received a certain amount of education. She wasn't as hot and spirited as the woman at the other ports who spewed vulgarities with every sentence. Tracy turned around and was about to return when Theodore approached her and said with a sullen expression, you have to thank me for telling you the news immediately. As he spoke, his right hand pressed against Tracy's butt. Before he pinched hard. Pop, I'm sorry. So, is this one of Klein's marionettes? So like, does he feel that? I have so many questions. Like, if we're in Utopia's harbor, all this is part of Klein's Utopia. Like, Tracy swapped away his hand and chided, you're a jerk who should... You're a joke who should be fucked by a donkey. What the? She took a few steps forward and left the liner by the gangway. Whoa, what the fuck? The client feed his fucking marionettes. Theodore shook his hand and cursed with a smile. Bitch! The scene suddenly moved many passengers on board. To them, the biggest flaw in the ship was that it was boring and there was a bar at the harbor. This meant that they could meet cheap street girls who were unlike those from northern or oh my god, what the hell did Klein get himself into? Or the southern continent. There were local streets with their unique local charm. If one was lucky or willing to spend a lot of money, one of them might even be able to sleep with a spirited beauty with an attitude. Oh man, this is so... We are running the exact same... this is so weird on so many levels. Like, I know Klein is making all his marionettes act independently of him, but like, there has to be some way, shape, or form where he can like sense the marionettes, right? Like, there's a connection. It's just... Instantly, many passengers packed their luggage and prepared to head to the harbor hotel. Upon seeing this, Alfred's adjustment asked, "General, are we getting off the ship?" Alfred shook his head slowly. "We don't know anything about this place. We have to be careful. Staying on the ship is the best choice." The adjutant had no objections to this. He asked wordily, "What about those who have already alighted?" "That's their choice." Alfred looked out the window expressionally. "If an accident happens, we can only keep more people safe. If it's not serious, then we will be able to resolve it easily." Klein, the maiden list has reached the limits. He needed to get some action, so his marionettes are going to get busy. And then he just gets to spectate. Whoa. With that said, he turned to look at the adjutant and squire. "We'll take turns to keep watch tonight to prevent any accidents." Alfred, who had interacted with numerous Episcopal Page, the Rose School of Thought, and other organizations on the southern continent, had an instinctive sense of vigilance towards the unfamiliar places. After he exchanged his opinion with the ship captain, Alfred got into bed, listening to the strong winds hitting the glass windows and the torrential rain pertaining the deck. He was about to doze off, and then what happens? At this moment, he heard a tender and sad melody coming from the direction of the harbor. It seemed to come from a flute, intermediate like human whimpering through the storm. Alfred was instantly immersed in the music. It was as though he had returned to Backland, which always appeared in the dreams. He returned to the state that was a mixture of happy childhood days, the vexing times of his youth, and other emotions. He shook his head violently and shook off the feeling. He realized that it wasn't a psychological effect, but a normal person's reaction. Alfred rolled out of bed and walked to the window. Using his sheriff beyond her powers, he confirmed that the music he had heard came from the cheap hotel. It's not from the guests on board the ship. Their goal is very clear. They wouldn't be in the mood to play such a money. There are tourists in Utopia to begin with. Or could it be that the owner and part-time attendant named Tracy, if it were her, she would be the lady of the story? Alfred sighed and checked his gaze. He stopped pondering over the matter. Although he was curious, he had no intention of getting off that ship. Soon the sound of the flute stopped. The harbor hotel regained its silence and nothing unexpected happened. Just like that, the time passed and the storm stopped. The sky gradually brightened. I'm gonna lower the volume down a bit. At 8 in the morning, the liner passengers returned one after another. Every one of them had weak steps and looked haggard. Upon seeing this, the sailors immediately laughed and said, "The chicks here seem pretty good." The passengers shook their heads at the same time and looked regretful. One of them rubbed his temples and said, "The Lanty proof here isn't bad. It's cheaper than other places. I wasn't careful and had a little too much to drink and ended up falling asleep. I don't even know if anything happened with that babe." Sigh. "I woke up to realize that the ship was about to leave, and I don't even remember what I did after getting drunk. Praise the lady, she let me lie in bed and not sleep in the rain." The other passengers chimed in to express the similar experience. Of course, everyone has different details. For example, some passengers praised the breakfast, dessert, and cheap hotel. The sailors were regretful, and they didn't manage to drink cheap and good Lanty proof. They started testing the passengers. Perhaps the one who spent the night with you wasn't the chicks here, but the burly man like Theodore. Since all of you were drunk, there's no way to know what happened. Ha! Try touching your assholes? Whoa. Amidst the lively atmosphere, the sailors withdrew the gangway and raised the sails, allowing the liner to set off slowly. Alfred finally relaxed after they passed through the dark sea and returned to the familiar safe sea route. He smiled at his adjutant and squire and said, "You can mark this place on our map. Mentioning the liquor and desserts here aren't too bad. Yes, the girls have their own traits." After a few more days of traveling, the passenger finally arrived at Desi Bay's Eskelsen Harbor. After traveling along the winding safe sea route, Alfred, who had a demeanor of a noble and his solicited instincts, paid a visit to the brass of a nearby military base and shared a good dinner with them. When he returned to one of his father's vacation villas, he was surprised to find the squire, whom he hadn't sent away, gather for information. What's wrong? Alfred put away his disorganized thoughts. The squire lowered his voice and said, General, all the official maps in the kingdom have no indication of the Utopia harbor. All right. So what are they going to say? Oh, shit. That was the end of the chapter. I was going to be like, what are they going to speculate now? All right. Chapter 1330 is called Moving In. Cuttlefish writing a lot of poetic lines in those chapters. Is that why you guys were asking me if I like poetry? Because you guys we were talking about that today, right? Theodore kind of freaky. Just a little bit. They were a little bit freaky. Chapter 1330. Moving In. Alfred felt the room temperature plummet when he heard his squire. An indescribable chill invaded his body, freezing his blood and bone marrow. When the liner stopped at Utopia Port, he had expected the worst situation to happen. Utopia was the headquarters of some cult, and that everyone there was a dangerous lunatic. But now, the truth was even worse. Perhaps Utopia never existed. Oh, they're onto it. At that moment, Alfred was unusually thankful that he was no longer the noble scion he was when he left Backland. He had accumulated a great deal of experience and has thus not really entered Utopia Harbor. Under the gaze of the adjutant and squire, the Major General paced back and forth with a solemn expression. He calmly instructed, draft up a telegram, report it to MI9 about what happened in Utopia. Yeah, I just met this vulgar-ass lady called Tracy. What? She was a bitch. And like, that's it. At the same time, request the local official beyonders to immediately take action and contact the captain to list down all the people who entered Utopia Harbor. If necessary, pay each of them a visit and confirm if there are any problems. Yes, sir. His adjutant, I cannot pronounce his name. His adjutant immediately stood at attention and saluted. After the adjutant walked out of the study, Alfred said to his squire, bring up the typewriter from downstairs. I want to write a detailed report. His plan was to first use a telegram to report the key information to the brass, not delay the initial actions necessary. Then he would reveal more details with a confidential document and provide more information for military brass to make a decision. Wendell walked into a second-class carriage with one hand and top hat and the other carrying a suitcase. He wasn't even 30 years old. His sideburns were deep black and his brown eyes were calm. He didn't have any unique features that anyone could remember, but he exuded comfortable vibes. A few months ago, he was still a Fanny Potter intelligence officer who was active in Desi Bay, and he had contributed greatly. Now that he was a Sequence 7 Beyonder, he was part of MI9's Internal Affairs Department. Today, his goal was to send a confidential document to Backland and personally hand it in their hands of MI9's director. After sitting down, Wendell bought a newspaper from the paperboy and leisurely read through it. This was just a superficial act. In reality, he began to use his Beyonder powers to illustrate and portraits of the passengers around him, remembering all the characters. I need to make some G-fill. Remembering all the characteristics, making the meticulous and perfect preparations for any actions that might happen later. No, I can't, because then I'm gonna be too awake and I won't be able to sleep in early. None. The steam locomotive was chugging forward. The scenery outside sped past the windows. A few hours later, Wendell cast his gaze out the window with some anxiety. The sky was already filled with dark clouds, and a storm was about to descend. This meant that the steam locomotive would stop at a station ahead of time to tide through the storms. It might only continue its journey the next morning and not reach its designated location. And Wendell's opinion, this would undoubtedly lead to more risks due to a deviation in his expectations. However, it was beyond him. He couldn't change the weather like the sea god who was promoted by the Roasted Archipelago's new government. The only thing he could do was pray to the Lords of Storms. Reality proved that praying was useless most of the time. By the time the sky turned dark, the station in front of them had already sent a light signal to get the train to slow down and stop. True. The steam engine whistled again and the train slowed down. Finally, it stopped at the unfamiliar platform. In the next second, near the steam-powered train heads, the mechanical door opened. The train conductor stood at the entrance and shouted to the staff of the platform. What happened up ahead? Heavy rain, visibility is 0. The white sideburns employee answered loudly. Just as he finished speaking, a muffled thunder sound, causing everyone to tremble as they sensed the incoming storm. Damn it, the train conductor cursed. Which station is this? As it was an enormous stop, he didn't really know which station he was at. After all, the schedule he was in charge of didn't stop at every station in the past. Utopia. It's a small station. You can arrange the rest yourself. The staff shouted and ran towards the other end of the platform. We just ended up in Utopia. enter the platform with a glass lantern in hand. I have to give the train behind the signal. The train conductor had no doubts about the staff's attitude because this was a normal dispatch process. Otherwise, an accident between the two steam locomotives would happen. He could even be certain that the other staff members of the Utopia station had already sent a telegram to the other stations to warn them. Of course, this must have received a telegram to learn that the area ahead began enveloping a heavy storm. Utopia. Wendell repeated the name in a low voice, not finding any useful information in his find. He's like, oh, what the fuck is this? Of course, he didn't think too much of it. This is because there were many unknown steam locomotive stations in the entire Lone Kingdom. This was a manifestation of the country's overall strength. What the fuck? And now Utopia... Wait, so now the Utopia is there? The train conductor looked at... Wait, so he can just have it spawn anywhere. Is that what's happening? Is he having Utopia just go wherever he wants? The train conductor looked at the dark sky and muttered a few words before using the newest megaphone to speak to the passengers on board. A storm is coming. The train will stop at Utopia Station until 8 in the morning tomorrow. He estimated the storm to continue the entire night. You can stay in the carriage or you can exit on your own accord to head into the city to look for an inn. And tomorrow, simply show your ticket stub to the board of the carriage again. Remember to be on time. The train conductor gave the passengers two choices. Wendell looked at the passengers inside of the second-class carriage and pondered for a few seconds before carrying his suitcase and walk out of the train. It wasn't that he couldn't handle the harsh environment that wasn't conducive for good sleep. When he was an intelligence officer, he had been through plenty of hardships. He was only relying on his professionalism that the sealed carriages, which were limited in space for passenger movement, weren't as safe as a single room in an inn. Of course, he could also stay up all night, but this would definitely affect his condition tomorrow. Clearly, he still had a long journey tomorrow. He said he can graft an entrance to places. Oh, thank you, Harsh. Thank you for bringing that up. Okay, so he can graft an entrance in different locations, so it can like be wherever it wants, like a door. Yes, he is using grafting so Utopia do not move, but the people from all over can come to Utopia. Oh, so even though they found that Utopia was out at sea, there will be no Utopia when they go out and check, right? Like, even if they were to go out and actually check Utopia, like, they wouldn't even be able to find the island if Klein doesn't want them to discover it. Which were limited in space for passenger movements, weren't as safe as a single room in and in. In and in? That's a tongue twister. Of course, he could also stay up all night, but this would definitely affect his condition tomorrow. Clearly, he still had a long journey tomorrow. After exiting Utopia Station, Wendell got on the rental carriage, but by the side of the road and said to the carriage driver, to the Municipal Square. In the Lone Kingdom, there will definitely be a cathedral and a hotel near the Municipal Square. Sir, are you planning on going to the hotel? The carriage driver asked as he made the horse turn around, seemingly capable of getting along well with anyone. Yes, as a Sequence 7 Beyonder, Wendell didn't hide it. It's like creating teleporter portal to Utopia. Okay, that's a good way. In his opinion, as long as he lived in the city center while overseas, he could easily find a group of helicopters. The fuck did I just read? Helicopters. Helpers. He could easily find a group of helpers with his status and his strength was enough to support him in completing this task. The best hotel of Utopia is Red Boots. Are we going there? The coach driver asked in a suggestive tone that all men knew. If he didn't have permission, Wendell wouldn't mind pleasuring himself. However, he could only shake his head without any hesitation. I want a quiet hotel. All right, the coachman replied disappointedly, let's go to the Irises Hotel. No one will disturb you there. As the carriage advanced, Wendell cast his gaze outside the window to observe the situation outside. Perhaps it was because the storm was about to arrive. The people on the road were all in a rush. Even the paper boys looked down. A very small city. Wendell came to a preliminary conclusion from the lack of a track of carriage. He only saw one trackless carriage. This meant that most of the area in Utopia could be reached on footstep in an adequate amount of time. Just as he had expected, in less than 10 minutes, the rental carriage stopped at the entrance of the Irises Hotel. Wendell paid a fare and rushed into the hotel before the rain fell silent. He heard the pattering sounds behind him just as he entered. After checking in and putting down his luggage, Wendell rested for a while. He kept the confidential documents close to him and went to the restaurant on the first floor to enjoy the dinner. He cautiously didn't have any alcoholic beverages and asked for a cup of fizzling iced tea, which was supposedly a local specialty, and a fried pork chop drenched in apple juice. That sounds really good. Yeah, welcome back. As a former intelligence officer of high society, Wendell didn't have much expectations for dinner this time, but he was surprised by the meal. The pork chop was fried in a succulent and juicy manner that gave off a strong fragrance. Let me raise the volume a bit. The apple juice was poured on it, had a slightly acerbic texture that was washed away most of the cloyed taste. The fizzling iced tea was refreshing and especially delicious. When he footed the bill, Wendell nodded and the medium billed and waiter said, "Please send me my compliments to the chef for giving me the pleasure of this wonderful dinner." The ordinary looking waiter smiled and replied, "That wouldn't be an issue. In all of Utopia, our chefs are the best." No one suspects anything. Wendell didn't chit-chat and quickly returned to his room to make some arrangements to prevent others from sneaking in. Then he fell asleep without any hesitation. He used a relatively safe period of time, which any possible enemies would find unsuitable for taking action, to sleep and pass the time late into the night. After an unknown period of time, Wendell was suddenly woken up by an intense argument. He snapped open his pocket watch to take a look and realized that it wasn't even midnight. It's from next door, a woman's voice, a man's voice. Wendell sat up and listened carefully. Initially, he suspected that it was a man and woman flirting, but later he realized that it was too intense. Some of the items were even thrown onto the wall. A quarrel turning into a fight. Just as Wendell mumbled, he heard the shouting, cruising, and screaming of a woman beating a woman. As a lone gentleman, although Wendell believed in the Lords of Storms and discriminated against women, it didn't stop him from thinking that men shouldn't be violent towards women. After 2 seconds of consideration, he decided to knock on the door and remind his neighbors to take note. At this moment, a tragic cry rang out. This was obviously from a man. A thud. Something heavy fell on the floor. Wendell's brows twitched as he sharply caught the scent of a criminal case. Yo, Utopia? Maybe ain't a Utopia. He stood up, put on his coat, and went to the room next door. He bent his fingers and knocked twice. A few seconds later, the door cracked open, and a beautiful woman with long, wavy hair appeared in front of Wendell. Her hair was in a mess, and her face was ghastly pale. Her light green clothes were stained with blood, and she was holding a dagger that was dripping with blood. The lady was in her early 20s, stammered for a while before speaking in a dreamy tone. "I killed someone." Damn, wonder what Klein was thinking when coming up with these scenarios. I wonder. It's like, I feel like Klein had to have planned all this shit out. Like, yes, he wants them to all be independent. No, I feel like depending on the books he made his marionettes read, they like branch off, kind of like AI, and they start coming up with their own conclusions, and they start like becoming autonomous in some way. I feel like that's what's going on. Like, maybe Klein didn't necessarily plan everything out for them. Like, he gave them like the template, and then the marionettes independently worked out the rest, right? Wait, I just realized we are finishing volume 8 like this month. Wait, that's just hitting me. We're gonna finish 35 right now, right? And then easily Monday I'm gonna stream like a little bit. I was planning to read for like 2 hours on Monday, which means we're gonna knock out until 36 to 44, which means on Tuesday morning we're reading until 53. So literally by Tuesday morning, we're fucking done with volume 7. And I ain't fucking stopping, bro. So, hey. What if... Wait, no, technically Wiz already started. Yeah, we're stopping on 35 today. And then tomorrow we're stopping 44. And then Tuesday morning, or Monday... Oh. Dude, wait. I'm feeling a little optimistic. We might finish LTM this weekend. We might finish this weekend. Wait, if I cancel, wait, I am doing something Saturday. Oh my God, we are finishing. We're done in 2 weeks, max. You don't trust me? Bro, watch me. Let's keep reading. Chapter, wow, that's just, it's digesting right now. Holy Lords of Storms. It's hitting me right now. Chapter 1331 is called Pleasure and Helping Others. Wendell wasn't unfamiliar with murder at all. When he heard that, he wasn't... I'm getting goosebumps. But we finishing one of the best chapters. You guys gotta chill, man. You guys are getting me a little excited. Am I gonna have to take out the fan and like fan myself down? Because I got the fan right here. Once shit goes down, and you know me, once I start gasping for air because I'm too excited, I take out the fan because I gotta actually fan myself down. Are you telling me I'm going to fan myself down? 4 streams if you go by the schedule. Bro, we're gonna do it in 2 streams minimum, love. We doing it in 2 streams. 1335. I don't know what's going to be the song for 1335. I'll let you guys think it through, or we'll summon Cammy again right now. I think we asked Cammy about it. Chapter 1331 is called Pleasure in Helping Others. One that wasn't unfamiliar with murder at all. When he heard of that, he wasn't afraid at all. Instead, he calmly allowed his gaze to wander past the woman at the door and into the room's interior. He immediately saw a man lying on the ground. His chest was blood red. Are you sure he's dead? Wendell asked calmly. The young lady in her 20s was at a loss at first. Then she answered with uncertainty, maybe, I don't know. If there's still hope, we need to send him to the hospital immediately. Wendell's tone was like she was speaking to a patient's family, not a murderer. The lady holding the blood dagger subconsciously turned her body and made way. Wendell took a few steps forward and approached the victim. He didn't need to squat down. He swept his gaze and made a judgment based on the various signs. He is indeed dead. The woman in her 20s with messy flaxen color hair didn't show any obvious change in expression. She looked down at her toes and said, call the police. How do I address you? Wendell had already heard hurried footsteps coming from the stairs. It was obvious that the titular hotel owner came up to check the commotion after hearing the screams. Tracy, the peer. Oh, it's Tracy. Do not do it in 2 streams, LML. Hey, I'm just saying, I got a lot of free time Tuesday and like 2 hours Monday. I don't. Oh, you know what? I am playing When Wind Rises. I am going to play that new MMO game when it comes out on Friday, so we'll see. Tracy, the peer lady with an attitude, answered softly. She then sank into her own world and didn't say another word. Wendell was just about to say something when the owner of the hotel who had helped him check in previously had already rushed through the door. Goddess, the elderly man shouted after seeing the situation in the room. Wendell pressed down with his right hand, gestured for him to calm down before saying, call the police immediately. I'll stay here and watch. His temperament and words exuded a sense of confidence and convinced the others. The owner of the hotel didn't waste any time and immediately turned around and ran downstairs. As for Wendell, when he first came over to check over the situation, it was just a habit as a gentleman. In fact, he didn't have the intention to get involved in it. After all, he wasn't still shouldering a mission. However, Miss Tracy's dazed, detached, and cold attitude induced a sense of pity in him. This was a normal reaction for a man. He savored the area as though he was conversing with the air. Killing someone doesn't imply a harsh punishment. It can be categorized into many kinds of situations. Tracy slowly raised her head and casted her gaze at the gentleman. There was an indescribable luster in her lifeless eyes. Wendell glanced at her bruised face. He hit you. Yes, the man seemed to have some sort of authority, making Tracy, who wanted to remain silent, finally answer. Wendell looked down at the dagger that was no longer dripping in blood. Was it you who brought it here or him? Read 1305 slowly and enjoy it. All right, we're gonna read super slow then for that one. If it's the last chapter. Love, we know easy ain't understanding volume. Bro, you guys, come on, don't doubt me like that, dude. First try. We're gonna do it first try. Tracy's response was a little slow as she replied to him. Wendell nodded slightly and said, exercising your right is self-deprecating and this line with the law. I can testify to the police that you had an intense argument before it happened and there was a fight. Clearly, men naturally possess an advantage in this aspect. I'm not discriminating against women, but it's something explained by science and experience. He paused and asked, what is the relationship between the two of you? What happened? Tracy's eyes started about and she recovered a little from that deep, reluctant state. She seemed to be answering a policeman's question, and she said with a look of hope and sorrow, I am his mistress. Upon saying this, a self-deprecating smile appeared on Tracy's face. I used to be an ugly woman who violently chased after money. Not long after I left the grammar school, I became his mistress under his enticement. He gave me a hotel and let me stay there. I wait for his arrival or for him to summon me every week. I lost interest in this lifestyle, feeling increasingly suppressed and my inferiority complex grow. I wanted to return to everything to get him and get rid of him completely, but he wasn't agreeable. He threatened me using all sorts of methods and refused to let me leave him. The recent times we made all ended fights. The fact that Klein planned all this shit out. Sonny, nah, we need Cuttlefish himself for easy. Like, we need him to explain it. Do you guys remember the I'll show you right now. Christopher Nolan, this crazy explanation of Mementos when he draws like the timeline. I need Cuttlefish to break it down for me like that. Just now he said that there was only one way to leave him, and that was death. Then he beat me up and took out a dagger. You know what happened after that. Mistress Wendell cast a regretful and pitiful glance at Tracy's face and said, the traces of the scene have also confirmed the development of the situation. He had originally thought that Tracy and the deceased were husband and wife, but to his surprise, the relationship was worse than he had imagined. The Tracy nodded blankly and said, thank you. She didn't say another word. She only broke the silence when the police arrived. She raised her hands and accepted the handcuffs. Wendell looked at the staggered pace and said to the police, bring her to the check on her injuries first and treat them to avoid any accidents. The police officer didn't know why they had to listen to the instructions from a witness. In short, they led Tracy and Wendell to a small hospital in the city without any objections under the heavy rain. As Tracy was a woman, Wendell and the two police officers waited in the corridor of the hospital without entering the room. As time passed, Wendell saw a pregnant... Whoa, Klein, chill. This better be tame as fuck. I better see nothing but dandelions and roses right here. Pregnant woman and LTM do not mix together. After a while, he heard the sound of a baby. Oh shit, the baby's already crying. After a while, he heard the sound of a baby crying, an announcement of a new life coming to this world. At this moment, Tracy happened to come out. Do you feel it, life's beauty? Wendell said to Tracy solemnly. Wait, what? Did Tracy just give birth? As time passed, Wendell saw a pregnant woman being sent away to the living room in a hurry. There seemed to be some complications as they needed help with the labor process. After all, he heard the sound of a baby crying, an announcement of a new life coming to this world. At this moment, Tracy happened to come out. Do you feel it, life's beauty? Wendell said to Tracy solemnly. Oh, no. Okay, they passed when they heard the baby cry. Got it. As Tracy listened to the baby's cries amidst the howling winds and rain, her expression was clearly touched. Her face had already been wiped clean, making her look very clean and simple. After a few seconds, Tracy returned to her senses and nodded at Wendell before saying, thank you. What? This is so weird, bro. Like, are they sentient? Like, are they actually, like, living beings now? I'm so confused. Like, are they just really, really good marionettes? I am so confused now. This time, she was no longer as numb, blank, and reclusive. Wendell secretly heaved a sigh of relief and followed her to the police station to record a statement. After doing what was necessary, Wendell walked to the street side and prepared to take a rental carriage back to the Iris's hotel. However, in the middle of the stormy night, there was no pedestrians or carriages on the road. This is the disadvantage of a small city. It is not convenient enough, Wendell muttered. He opened the umbrella he had brought with him and made his way back to the Iris's hotel. As a former sheriff, he had memory and the mystical sense of the route he had taken before. He wasn't worried about getting lost in a small city. At this moment, the storm had already reduced significantly. However, the strong winds continued to sweep past Wendell, causing the rain to fall on him. This caused Wendell to raise his right hand and block his chest. That confidential document was sitting on the inside of his clothes. Wendell had previously kept the documents close to him, even when he was sleeping, not allowing it to be separated from him. For this reason, he had already developed a habit. As long as he had the corresponding self-reminders, he wouldn't turn over once he fell asleep. After walking for about 15 minutes in the small town of Utopia, Wendell saw the Iris's hotel. At that moment, his top hat and clothes were drenched due to the strong winds. This made him a little worried that the confidential document would be damaged by the water. Strictly speaking, I have already violated the rules of the mission, but how could I not help a lady like her? This is what a gentleman should do. Wendell was slightly vexed, but he didn't regret it at all. Good for him. After entering the room, he immediately removed his jacket and took out the document, placing it on a table. The envelope containing the document was already visibly soaked. There was quite a few places that seemed to tear with a little force. You guys are... I'm kind of getting scared to finish today's stream. You guys are hyping up 35 and like, I don't know how to feel. We're going to be reading that like within the hour. Easy being confused when the ritual clearly said the town needed to be so realistic it leaves a mark in the spirit world. No, I remember that part. Like, it has to be realistic as fuck. But like, now I'm like, when it's too realistic, like did they like actually become like living beings? It's like when you play Nier, even though they're like robots and androids, you're like, hold up, but like, it's like there's more to it. Like after so long, it's like they become their own people. Yo, Merlin, look, Merlin is here himself. Keep reading. Wendell immediately rang the bell and called for the attendant to ask for a gas stove, hoping to raise the temperature in the room and accelerate the air drying process of a sealed document. In the process of waiting, he realized that the silence expected from the middle of the night wasn't there. It was as if the screams and police arrivals had caused attendants and nearby residents to wake up without being able to fall asleep. The howling winds lessened significantly, and Wendell could hear children crying, married couples arguing, the sounds of wooden violins being played, the intermittent sobbing of the footsteps of the stairs, and the occasional sounds of discussion that were sometimes suppressed and sometimes raised without realizing it. He didn't have much thoughts about the lively scene. He just felt that there was noisy. It prevented him from calming down. After a while, the attendants brought over a cold stove. Wendell relaxed and asked casually, "Do you know that Miss Tracy?" The thin attendant shook his head. No. He then added, "I heard that she's a local, but I've been living outside on the plantations outside the city before this year. What do you know about her?" Wendell asked subconsciously. "She comes to our hotel 3 to 5 times a month with the dead man." The waitress suddenly sighed. "She's not happy at all." Wendell was silent for a few seconds before dismissing the attendant, returning to his desk. Secondly, ticketed by the envelope outside of the confidential documents gradually dried up. At this moment, the inside and outside of the hotel had become relatively quiet. On the sound of the rain falling and the sound of the windows being rattled by the winds could be heard. Wendell was full of spirit as he recalled everything that had happened. He sighed for Miss Tracy's life and flipped the envelope. At this moment, he realized that some damage had appeared on the bottom part of the envelope, revealing the piece of paper inside. Wendell frowned, knowing that he was about to be punished. Of course, the punishment would have been too heavy, as if the document was to be distributed was confidential enough. He wouldn't be the only one to dispatch it. Wendell originally planned on maintaining the present state and declaring the damage during the handover. However, when he swept his gaze, he saw a word on the document through the hole: Utopia. Wendell's nerves tightened, and he felt as if the sound of the wind and the rain outside had suddenly stopped. Okay. Shocked in the middle of the night is the next chapter. Hello, Mr. Merlin Hermes himself is in here watching right now. Huh. Let's keep reading. Chapter 1332, As We Love Vanitas. Here we go. Shocked in the middle of the night. Why is it a confidential document that I am dispatching mentioning Utopia? What's so special about this place? Many thoughts flashed through Wendell's mind as he heard a buzzing sound. At this moment, he felt as though he was going to fall sick from overextension. Wendell quickly forced himself to calm down. He carefully recalled all the experiences he had encountered after coming to Utopia, and he discovered that there were no problems with every detail. They were all things that he might encounter in daily life. The only thing that made him uneasy was the arrival was too coincidental. True. It was common for the steam locomotive to stop at the last minute due to a storm, but to stop somewhere related to the confidential document in his hand couldn't be explained away with a coincidence. Wendell stared at the confidential documents on the table with solemn expression. He hesitated as to whether he should open them and read them carefully. Perhaps it's just a passing mention of Utopia. My actions will severely violate internal affairs. Perhaps this is a report of a certain intelligence agent secretly investigating Utopia. The contents will decide whether I survive to a certain extent or die. After struggling for a while, Wendell looked out of the window at the dark night sky and reached for the document. Do we have artwork for this chapter, by the way? I mean, for the reveal of 1335 or anything? Because at least for the last part of the stream that I think just updated, it just uploaded. Let me close this. All right, it already updated video processing, so we'll close this. Give me a sec. Why? Let me just read this part again. Why is this so confidential document that I'm dispatching mentioning Utopia? What's so special about this place? Many thoughts flashed through Wendell's mind as he heard a buzzing sound. At this moment, he felt as though he was going to fall sick from overexertion. Wendell quickly forced himself to calm down. He carefully recalled all the experiences he had encountered after coming to Utopia, after he discovered that there were no problems with every detail. There were all things he mentioned. Oh, yeah, too coincidental. Everything was too coincidental. It was common for the steam locomotive to stop at the last minute due to a storm, but to stop somewhere related to the confidential documents in his hand couldn't be explained away as a coincidence. Wendell stared at the confidential document on the table with a solemn expression. He hesitated as to whether he should open them and read them carefully. Perhaps it's just a passing mention of Utopia. My actions will severely violate internal affairs. Perhaps this is a report of a certain intelligence agent secretly investigating Utopia. The contents will decide whether I survive to a certain extent or die. After struggling for a while, Wendell looked out the window at the dark night sky and reached for the documents. Only by being alive could one consider the punishment. Having made up his mind, Wendell swiftly removed the envelope outside and flipped through the types files inside. As he read, his hand trembled slightly. He felt a chill run down his spine, run down his back. Even the burning furnace didn't help. No matter which angel he read it from, the confidential report in his hand indicated that there was something wrong with Utopia, the entire town. This might be a city that didn't exist in the real world. Wendell felt his mouth go dry as though he had heard the footsteps of death slowly approaching him with a sickle. Instinctively, he wanted to get up, but in the end, he controlled himself and didn't react harshly. This was because he could feel pairs of eyes staring at him in the darkness outside the room, upstairs, and corridor outside. What should I do? Up until now, nothing abnormal happened. This means that if I didn't know anything, it's possible that I'd be safe in a welcome daybreak. I've read through a lot of information, and if I rashly show that I already know about the strange environments around me, it would only cause danger to erupt ahead of time. However, I can't just not do anything and leave my fate to luck. Winter recalled all the dangers he had experienced before and quickly made up his mind. He was prepared to immediately return to the steam locomotive and stay far away from Utopia to a certain extent. At least most of the people there were normal, while the city was full of danger. Of course, Wendell couldn't just come back like that. He had to act normal, as though he had left the hotel in the middle of the night to return to the steam locomotive stations. Amidst his thoughts, Wendell put away his confidential report and stood up calmly. He put on his coat and put on his top hat. Then, with the luggage in one hand and the umbrella in the other, he calmly walked to the door and turned the doorknob. At this moment, the corridor was dark with only a few gas lamps on both sides of the corridor, giving off the light that wasn't bright enough. It added signs of human life to the silent environment in which he could hear a pin drop. When Wendell entered the corridor, the wooden floor beneath his feet made a slight crackling sound. It was so clear in the silent night that it traveled far into the distance. With a slight frown, Wendell intentionally took a normal step forward and approached the staircase in the middle of the corridor. He walked without any worries and had no intention of acting furtively. As he saw the stars getting closer, he suddenly heard a squeaking sound behind him. "Sir, where are you going?" A slightly hoarse, intermittent male voice sounded in Wendell's ears. Wendell's body stiffened. He slowly turned back and saw the wooden door to the service room open. An attendant came out and stood in the shadows of the door. He quickly smiled and said calmly, "I have an important item on the steam locomotive. I'm afraid that someone would take it away, so I have no choice but to return now." At this point, he softly grumbled, "A murder happened at the hotel. I don't want to stay here anymore. I can't sleep at all. I'm very sorry." The attendant bowed slightly and responded, "I won't spread the news." Wendell nodded with a promise and then walked back up the stairs. Perhaps it was due to the dim light in the night. He walked very carefully. Every step was like walking on the edge of the precipice. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. Wendell, who had been on guard towards the attendant behind him, finally returned to the first floor. At that moment, not a single person was present in the hotel lobby. All the items were hidden in the dark, and the faint light from outside cast a blurry silhouette, just like the monsters eager to devour people. Wendell looked ahead and walked through the dark lobby before reaching the door. Just as he pushed open the door and went out, he suddenly heard some rustling sounds behind him. It was as if there were rats moving around, or it was as if someone was approaching him with light footsteps. The back of Wendell's head went numb, but he held back his impulse to make a dash for the door. He raised his head normally and looked up at the sky, which he had already stopped raining. Then he inhaled the cold, fresh air and made his way to the steam locomotive station. He quickened his pace, looking like he was afraid of the night and eager to the end of his journey. As he walked, Wendell saw a signboard from the corridor of his eyes, "Utopia Telegraph Office." The telegraph office. Perhaps I can try sneaking in and send an emergency telegram to the back on the headquarters. Oh man, sorry. I'm thinking of a funny stream moment. Not for us, for something else. I'll bring that up later. It's so funny. The telegraph office. Perhaps I can try sneaking in and send an emergency telegram to the Backland headquarters and Escalante military base. That way I can look forward to the rescue from demigods. If I'm really trapped here and unable to leave, this will be the only way to save myself. Wendell thought for a moment before taking over a few steps. Welcome back. Yeah, welcome back. We always play for the pot. Always. Wendell thought for a moment before taking a few steps diagonally, arriving at the entrance of Utopia Telegram Office. He wasn't in a hurry to find a place to sneak in. Instead, he focused his attention and listened to the movements of the inside. Following that, he heard the intermittent sounds of heavy breathing. This made Wendell occasionally feel that there was no one inside, and at times he felt that there was more than one person inside. Suddenly, the sound of breathing stopped. All of Wendell's hair stood on end. Fuck? His intuition told him that a figure was standing quietly behind the door of the telegraph office. I'm sorry, this kind of reminds me of Volume 3, when we went to the Elf Island, and they're like behind the telegraph office and they can hear them. Without any hesitation, Wendell immediately gave up the thought of sending a telegram. He walked past the door, and I remember we were also trying to send a telegram. He walked past the door and continued proceeding forward. For For the rest of the journey, even a gust of wind left Wendell trembling in fear. He was afraid of encountering an unknown danger. Time passed slowly as Wendell experienced the torment. Finally, he reached the entrance of the steam locomotive station and saw that the door was tightly shut. He couldn't enter. This wasn't a problem for Wendell. He first passed the umbrella to his left hand and was carrying his luggage, then went to the side and found a wall. With a press on his palm, he rose into the air and easily flipped over. After landing on his feet firmly on the ground, Wendell heaved a sigh of relief and began walking towards the platform at an unhurried pace. At that moment, an inaudible sound of footsteps could be heard behind him. "What are you doing here?" A deep and hoarse voice rang out. Wendell's toes tightened as cold sweat broke out on his back. He didn't hesitate. As he prepared to get violent, he made his body turn slowly and stiffly. The first thing that entered his eyes was a classic glass lantern, followed by the staff members from before. Wendell exhaled and grumbled. "It's not appropriate for you to appear in such an environment on such a night. As a gentleman, you have to avoid scaring others." "Oh, you don't say." "I'm not a gentleman," the staff members replied in an unfamiliar manner. Wendell pointed to a corner of the platform. "I'm going to the bathroom." That was very ungentlemanly. He had already observed the platform environment and laid on the platform earlier in the day. "Then why are you here?" the worker asked. "I'm lost," Wendell answered simply. Following that, he ignored the staff and walked towards the bathroom. Behind him, the staff member watched silently without saying a word. This gave Wendell a lot of mental stress, but he maintained his gait very well. In the bathroom, under the illumination of the wall lamps, Wendell took nearly a minute to relieve the tension in his body and successfully peed. Mission accomplished. After returning to the steam locomotive, Wendell finally found a sense of security as he looked at the passengers lying on their beds. In the next few hours, he didn't sleep at all as he was on guard against any accidents. Just as Wendell's grasp in the passenger time slowed down, the sky gradually brightened and disappeared and dispersed the darkness. In the next 2 hours, the travelers who had gone to Utopia returned one after another. Some bought a bottle of local red wine. Some looked haggard. They looked like they had been beaten up or were hungover. Wendell was very wary of them, but he couldn't discover anything unusual in his detailed chew. Finally, the whistle sounded as the steam locomotive slowly began to move. Amidst the chugging sounds, the train left Utopia station. After that, they went through another... Wait, they just left Utopia. After that, they went through another dark and gloomy weather. Fortunately, no thunderstorm descended and the sun quickly pierced through the clouds and illuminated the ground. For Wendell, all of this was normal. It had been like that since he arrived in Utopia last night. If not for the confidential report, which was hidden near his chest, he definitely wouldn't have believed that there was any problem with Utopia. When the steam locomotive reached the next stop on the very one that everyone was familiar with, Wendell finally relaxed. He felt as his brain ached with a throb, as though he had been drained of his energy. At this moment, he quickly recalled his experience in Utopia. As he recalled, Wendell suddenly sat up straight. He used the excuse of going to the bathroom last night, but he was carrying his luggage and an umbrella. He didn't look like a passenger who was just come down from a steam train. The station worker didn't realize this, or rather, he had already discovered it, but he did not expose him for some unknown reason. Wait, what does that even mean? The station worker didn't realize this, or rather, he discovered him, but he did not expose him for some unknown reason. So Klein just let Wendell be. He just let him. Is that what happened? All right, next chapter. I guess we got 3 more today. Chapter 1333 is called Warning Using His Experience as an Example. Warning Using Experience as an Example. Okay. All of a sudden, the muscles on Wendell's back began to tense up as he was about to explode. He was shocked and doubtful as several guesses flashed through his mind. The residents of Utopia are monsters in human skin. They usually look normal, but once they encountered a blind spot in logic, they would show a sign that is different from ordinary person, ignoring the points that are obviously problematic. Or perhaps the staff realized that I was lying and was unwilling to deal with me, so he pretended not to see me and let me go. But why? Yes, carrying my luggage to the bathroom can be explained away as me being afraid of losing my luggage. But the entire platform is sheltered. There's no need to take the umbrella. Besides, the rain had already stopped. Wendell instinctively turned his gaze out the window, only to see that the sunlight shining on the platform he was at. One by one, passengers waited in order behind the safety line, completely different from the dark and gloomy vibes that Utopia gave off. He exhaled and suddenly relaxed. This isn't Utopia. I've already left. Wendell murmured to himself as he wiped away the cold sweat that seeped out of his forehead. When he recalled his oversight earlier, it was as if he had fallen into a nightmare that he couldn't wake up from no matter how hard he tried. After a while, Wendell stood up and decided to smoke at the platform to ease his mood. The tobacco comforted his comforted him greatly, allowing him to recall his past experiences in Utopia. During this process, he gained inspiration from his encounter. Maybe it's because I sincerely helped Tracy, so that staff members intentionally ignored my problematic actions and let me go. Compared to the entire population of Utopia, being monsters hiding underneath human skin, Wendell was more willing to accept his explanation. At this moment, from the corner of his eyes, he saw the conductor talking to a group of people at the corner. Wendell took a few steps forward, trying to hear what they were saying. With the help of this hearing that transcended the normal limits of hearing, he vaguely heard the conversation from the distance that wouldn't incur suspicion. Last night, the station, Utopia, doesn't exist in the kingdom. Please keep it a secret. Like, ain't no fucking way. I was just there. Wendell's brows twitched slightly. Based on his description of the documents near his chest, he roughly understood what the train conductor was talking about. They were saying that the kingdom didn't have a station known as Utopia at all, and last night the steam locomotive had gone missing. At that moment, a strong sense of horror surged through Wendell's heart again. He felt that it was his greatest blessing to be able to leave Utopia alive. Alfred spent nearly a week before returning to Backland from Eskelsen Harbor. Ripple is pretty good too. I've just started it. It's like dark time travel and stuff. Ooh, that sounds fun. This was because he had visited the family of his deceased comrades, his oldest friends, the elder who had returned to their field for vacation, and some of his family businesses partners along the way. This is even more tiring than the participating in battle, Alfred grumbled to his father, Earl Hall. Earl Hall smiled and pointed at the staircase. Return to your room and get some rest. We'll talk about it in study later. He was quite satisfied that the mental state and the progress of his second son. Alfred surveyed the area and asked with a smile, where is the most dazzling jewel of Backland? He paused for a moment before adding, what about Hybrid? Earl Hall laughed and said, Audrey went to the foundation and will only return in the afternoon. She kept complaining that you couldn't provide her with a definite schedule, preventing her from knowing which she would arrive. Hybrid is now a cabinet secretary. He's very busy. Alfred nodded and returned to his room returned to his room to take a shower. He changed into shirt, vest, and formal suit. I prefer East Balham's casualness. He looked in the mirror and smiled to his adjutant. I still can't pronounce that word. Adjutant. This outfit makes you look more like a noble. His adjutant, wow, this word comes up a lot. His adjutant said that he, text-to-speech, let's see. His what?
This outfit makes you look more like a noble. His adjutant said.
His adjutant. His adjutant said as he handed him the document in his hand, General, this is from MI9. MI9. Alfred thoughtfully destroyed the seal of the envelope. There's a result regarding the investigation of Utopia that quickly. Before he could finish his sentence, he pulled out the document and flipped through it. During this process, Alfred flipped through the pages slower and slower. And in the end, he read it again for the first time again. For the first page. The main content of the investigation was divided into two parts. The first was regarding the MI9 members who had dispatched Alfred's report. He had accidentally entered Utopia and witnessed a murder case. He managed to forcefully escape in the middle of the night and return to the steam locomotive. The second was that the railways in Desi Bay, which lead to Backland, didn't have a stop named Utopia station along the way. Nor was there a harbor known as Utopia and the Berserk Sea. The subsequent investigators didn't find any traces. The two cases didn't exceed the limits of Alfred's imagination. What surprised him was that the criminal involved in the murder, her name was Tracy. She was the owner of a hotel. She had received a middle-class education and graduated from grammar school. After that, she became a mistress of a businessman. Recently, she was trying to free herself from this identity. This was identical to the owner of the Harbor Ball, Tracy, that Alfred had met. Every detail matched. As a result, Alfred determined that the culprit behind the murderer was Tracy, the beautiful woman who had received a certain degree of education, who was able to produce the sad music in the middle of the night. Is this her backstory? Alfred muttered to himself silently. Is this her backstory? Alfred muttered to himself silently. This made the residents of Utopia seem very realistic. It wasn't what Alfred had expected, an illusion. In other words, after the outsiders left, the inhabitants of Utopia continued to lead their own lives. They had their own love, hatred, pains, and sorrows. They had all sorts of experiences. Apart from Utopia seeming to not exist in the real world, it was similar to an ordinary town in the Lowen Kingdom. Perhaps Utopia is real. Everyone there is real. However, if one wants to enter the town, they have to be in the right place at the right time. So cool. Alfred nodded indiscriminately and put away the investigation report he had received from MI9. To him, even if this matter ended here, he had no intention to investigate further. One had to know that in the southern continent there were countless bizarre incidents and phenomenons. If one was too curious, it would only bring him greater danger than he had imagined. After adjusting his clothes, Alfred came to his father's study and knocked on the door as he curled his fingers. Come on in, Earl Hall's voice rang out. Alfred tidied his blonde hair, pushed the door open, and sat down. So I was building up anticipation right there when he sat down. We're building the suspense. Earl Hall smiled at him and said, "You're already a man. No one would say such words to a man." Alfred replied without any reservations. "In my heart, you're still the rebellious youth." Earl Hall said with a smile, "You're already a Sequence 5 Beyonder." Barely? Alfred replied with a double entendre. "Yes, I am a entendre." What word is that? "Yes, I am a real knight." Earl Hall nodded and suddenly sighed. "You should have experienced a lot of hardships. From what I know, no matter if it's the potions of war, they will bring serious damage to people, from their bodies to their minds. Everyone undergoes a lot of pain in their lives." Alfred said with a sigh. He used a low and solid euphemism. After a pause, he added, "Compared to when I left Backland, my present state is even better. As long as I grasp the myth properly, I don't need to worry too much about the impact of the madness at my level." Earl Hall didn't continue on this matter and instead said, "Your sister has also become a Beyonder." "Oh? What sequence? Bitch, she's already an angel. You fucking behind, bro." "Oh?" Alfred was shocked at first, but then he remembered something. He said with some annoyance, "I thought she just changed her hobby." I'm sorry. Alfred was the one that bought her the salamander, right? Double entendre, like from raps and stuff. I gotta look that up. So Alfred, though, he was the one that bought her the pronunciation "Devil Strikes Again." Come on. Am I saying it that bad? Sure, bro. Sure, bro. Am I saying it that bad? "From the looks of it, Audrey's adventure has a little bit of your help," Earl Hall said, seemingly entitled. "I hope you can talk to her about how dangerous, crazy, and painful is about the sequin potions. Let her remain at her current level." Alfred replied with no hesitation, "I'll do it." In the evening, in Audrey's small study room, "Alfred, why are you looking for me?" "Yo, you gotta stop advancing. I'm already an angel, bro." Oh, this is such a funny ass chapter. So rather than him warning her, it's gonna end with her warning him. "Alfred, why are you looking for me?" Audrey, who had changed into home clothes, let Susie and opened the door for her brother. She had been waiting for her brother for a few minutes. "I have something to warn you of." Alfred walked into the study and casually pulled a chair over. Audrey smiled and pointed at the golden retriever. "Do you need Susie to leave?" Alfred couldn't help but smile as he looked at the obedient golden retriever who was sitting by the side, her eyes filled with a look of sentience. "There's no need for that. I believe it won't eavesdrop on our conversation about that." She... Ooh, of course she is capital she. Come on, dude. "She," Audrey casually corrected him. After the noble girl sat opposite him, Alfred sighed inwardly. After not seeing her for a few years, his younger sister was no longer as tender as before. Regardless of her looks or temperament, she had already reached a level that brought about amazement. She was no longer the little girl from the past. Alfred retracted his gaze and asked casually, "I heard that you became a Beyonder." "Yes," Audrey nodded frankly. Like, yeah, I actually participated in a war in my dragon form. It's pretty crazy. I didn't want to accidentally read the ending. Alfred had originally planned on asking what sequence she was, but after some thought, he felt that it was too direct. It was easy for her to flare up, so he deliberated over his words and said, "You should be a Beyonder, the Spectre of the Pathway, right? The Rainbow Salamander had similar powers." "Yep." The Rainbow Salamander was a gift from Alfred to his sister. After Audrey gave an affirmative answer, Alfred joked, "Can you do a treatment in the mind domain now? Most Beyonders, including me, need help in this aspect." "Yes, I forgot to tell you that I'm already Sequence 5 Disciplinary Paladin of the Arbiter Pathway." Audrey pursed her lips and smiled. "I'm a qualified psychiatrist who has undergone professional training. You can verify this with father and mother." She's already Sequence 7? About that. Audrey, "Actually, I killed a demigod while you were away." It's like, only Sequence 5. She's already a Sequence 7. Alfred's expression gradually turned solemn. He's like, huh? I was like, dude, it's a lot higher than that. "Audrey, I have to remind you that the potions do not only bring about strength." Having said that, he paused and observed his sister's reaction. He realized that Audrey wasn't impatient at all and was listening very seriously. "Every potion contains madness and can lead to a loss of control. I've seen similar situations before more than once. They happen to my enemies and they happen to my friends. No one is spared." Alfred amalgamated his experiences in East Ballum and began explaining the dangers of the potions in detail. During this process, he realized that his sister Audrey wasn't the only one listening attentively. Furthermore, Susie and the golden retriever appeared extremely quiet. He's like, wait a minute. No, wait, he sent 2 salamanders, right? The fucking golden retriever is stronger than Alfred. This is so funny, dude. there's no shot he's gonna figure it out, right? Because he sent her 2 salamanders. Bro, Susie over Alfred, bro. I can't believe Susie would beat Alfred. Dude, please tell me she reveals it, bro. I am so excited to read this chapter, bro. If there's one thing I love about LOTM, I really like these like funny comedic moments where you're just waiting for that bit because you know it's gonna be funny. Like Susie can kill 90% of the Beyonders. It's literally, dude. I know, bro. We're 1 chapter away from apparently a really peak chapter. Right now, it's pretty funny, but I don't know where we go from here. Chapter 1334 is called Night with the Moon. Maybe with the moon. MI9's office building was located on Belleton Street in Westboro, and it was in the inconspicuous 3-story building. The entrance didn't show any signs of its identity. It simply hung a door signed number 9. The core of this office building was underground, and above it was the clerks. Of course, most of the Beyonders who were under MI9 wouldn't go underground for no reason. The environment there wasn't good, and the atmosphere was oppressive. It was possible that the accident couldn't help due to the failure to watch over a sealed artifact. Shio was now the deputy team leader of the National Security and Counter-Espionage Team. She was in charge of a rather small-scale Beyonder team responsible for handling espionage cases regarding Intis in the greater area of Backlund. Holy shit, man. Love how we'll easy get the music link. It's in music channel. Mods can also link music right here. Yeah, mods can link right here on Discord. No, so I think we're good. There's a mission here. Her superior MI9 deputy director, the team leader of the National Security and Counter-Espionage Team, Lieutenant General Pantek, picked up a document and handed it across the desk opposite of him. Is it very urgent? Shio received it and asked cautiously. Lieutenant General Pantek was a typical Lowen old man with a case of severe hairline recession. It happens to all of us. He picked up a white porcelain coffee cup and took a sip. Not at all. It's quite low risk. In fact, this mission will be sent to all members, hoping that someone will be able to complete it by luck. This description was out of Shio's expectations, but she didn't open the dossier on the spot and directly replied, I will inform my team members. Shio returned to her own room after leaving the Lieutenant General Pantek's office. When she threw herself into her seat, she seemed to have hidden herself. Shio quickly browsed through the documents in her hand and roughly understood what the deputy director said. Half-Life. That's the thing I was telling that never got finished when we were doing our Volume 6 discussion. Half-Life. That's what I wanted to whiz. He was talking about Vagabond. I was thinking of Half-Life. Half-Life is the one thing that's never going to end. It's never going to be completed. And then the writer just revealed what Half-Life 2 Episode 3 was, but he just rewrote all the names to not for copyright reasons. I just remembered. That's what I wanted to talk about in the Volume 6 discussion. Sent to the General too? Thank you, D. Shio quickly browsed through the documents in her hand and roughly understood why the deputy director said that. The utopia that needed investigation didn't seem to be anywhere in the northern and southern continent, nor were there any of the known islands in the 5 seas. In the past 2 weeks, many people had entered the so-called utopia, but the way they entered was completely different. Some entered the Berserk Sea Sonia seawaters and arrived by a terrifying storm. Some were midway on a railway that led to Desi Bay to Backlund. Due to a heavy storm, they had been delayed and stopped at the city. Otherwise, they were in Civilis County, and they entered because they were lost. Up to now, no one has been affected by the damage or mentally influenced. It's no wonder that Deputy Director Pantek said that the danger level is very low. You don't say. Also, there's no way to conclude that the rules regarding the cases, making it difficult for one to find the true location of Utopia. Therefore, there's no way for them to send people in to investigate this. I can only tell all the members of the situation and hope that one of them will chance upon Utopia and carefully gather information in secret when they are there. She'll put down the documents in her hand and stopped up and stood up regretfully, preparing to inform the Beyonders under her. She was regretful that the mission was so different that she almost couldn't see. This made her unable to accumulate more merit points. In the past half year, Shio had been very busy every day in order to deal with the pending apocalypse. As she dealt with MI9's matters, she completed all the missions for Mr. Fool had given her, so as to accumulate contributions on both sides in exchange for the formula and beyond her characteristics on the imperative mage formula and beyond her characteristics, so as to fulfill the wish of becoming a demigod. And up until now, Shio was still lacking a little on both fronts, especially in MI9. If she didn't make any significant contributions, Shio couldn't see any hope. if not for the generous salary from MI9 and all kinds of benefits that came with it, and how could she rely on her status and identity to monopolize a large amount of information so as to help her complete the missions given by Mr. Fool? She'll yearn to resign and become a bounty hunter again. She wants to be a bounty hunter again? That way, she would have more freedom. I can ask about this case at the next Terry gathering. Perhaps Mr. World will have some clues. As Shield thought, she pushed open the door to the room where her team members were. After signing Utopia mission, Shield specifically instructed if the situation isn't right. Even if you have the chance to enter Utopia, you can give up immediately. It is so hot in this room right now. I'm trying to sweat. But I'm doing it for you guys because I love you all. The town of unknown authenticity hasn't shown any danger. Perhaps it's because it hadn't been triggered. After busying herself for a while more, Shield finally ended her day in exhaustion. She returned home before 7:30 and had dinner with her mother, her brother, and Force. She enjoyed a limited amount of relaxation. At midnight, she washed up and walked to the bedroom window. She grabbed the curtain and prepared to draw it. During this process, she naturally cast her gaze outside and discovered that the crimson moon in the sky had already turned bigger at some point in time. Furthermore, the color had clearly deepened as though it was flowing blood. The blood moon. She suddenly turned her head and looked next to her in concern. She was a little worried about her good friend's condition. However, she quickly recalled that Force was a sequence for demigod and no longer feared the effects of the full moon ravings. Hell yeah. In the next room next door, Force was lying in bed, taking in the blood moon outside. As she endured the pain of her head being prickled by needles, she heard Mr. Door say, although going from sequence 3 to sequence 2 is indeed a qualitative change, going from an incomplete mythical creature to a real mythical creature, I believe that sequence 4 to sequence 3 has a qualitative change as well. It can even be said that sequence 3 is the best level in a Beyonder pathway. And fucking Klein, he is just... God, he is advancing so quickly, dude. It is so fucking impressive, bro. At this level, there is no need to rely on external forces to resist the man as an inclination towards losing control. There's no need to endure the torment every second and minute. They will also possess beyond powers that completely excel that of an ordinary person. They will be more godlike than any humans. Furthermore, they can obtain a small number of anchors and stabilize their mental state. If not for the fact that most Sequence 3 Beyonders don't have a long enough lives, with it being difficult for them to live for more than 500 years old, that would be good. I believe there won't be many saints who have the motivation to advance to an angel. Yeah, Force nodded, indicating that she had already understood. At the same time, her forehead twitched slightly as she yawned secretly. She was already a little accustomed to the pain from her direct conservation with Mr. Door. Mr. Door continued, the apprentice pathway sequence 3 is a wanderer. This means that the spirit world can no longer trap you. You can enter the cosmos, traveling the asteroid, which is really dangerous. Head to different planets and see true dead silence, turn bareness, true magnificence, and completely different civilizations. Only after experiencing it for yourself will you understand how insignificant the world you live in is. Mr. Door briefly explained his experiences as a showcase of magnificence and beauty of the cosmos, displaying the stateliness and charm of different civilizations. Wow. Sorry, comprehension double struck. This made Force fall into a trance. If not for the sharp, throbbing pain in her head, still reminding her, she would have forgotten that the speaker was a dangerous kings of angel. As long as you help me escape, I'll give you the potion formula and beyond characteristics of a wanderer and help you complete the ritual. Of course, this can be paid in advance. At the end of the full moon ravings, Mr. Door gave another promise. It really makes me look forward to it. Force marveled sincerely. When Mr. Door's voice gradually weakened and disappeared, Force suddenly pulled out the pillow at her waist and laid down. In less than 3 minutes, she fell asleep in peace. To her, the vast cosmos was indeed filled with charm. However, it also contained danger, being corrupted just from knowing about it. She had no motivation to explore it. Good for her, dude. If not for the fact that the most Sequence 3 Beyonders don't have long enough lives, with it being difficult for them to live to more than 500 years old, I believe there won't be many saints who have the motivation to advance an angel. Yeah, Force nodded, indicating that she had already understood. At the same time, her forehead twitched slightly as she yawned secretly. She was already a little accustomed to the pain from her direct conversation with Mr. Door. Mr. Door continued, the apprentice pathway sequence 3 is Wanderer. This means the spirit world can no longer... Whoa, what the fuck? Whoa, time loop. She had no motivation to explore it. Whoa, time loop, sorry. I'll consider it after touring all the places in the northern and southern continent and the 5 seas. In her sleep, Force muttered almost silently to herself. At that moment, the blood-red moon outside the window had already faded. It returned to a light crimson color and wasn't fulfilled. A huge blood-colored moon hung on the edge of the cliff, illuminating the swamp below. The swamp was dark red and constantly bubbling, as though lava was boiling at the bottom. At a glance, there was no end to the swamp, like a vast ocean paw. A stone fell on the edge of the cliff and into the swamp. In the next second, a bubble appeared and silently burst, producing a blood-stained In the next second, a bubble appeared and silently bursted, producing a blood-stained infant. The baby staggered, swamp towards the cliff, and attempted to climb up. The stone beneath Emlyn's white feet shattered as he fell to the cliff into the swamp. I'm sorry, what? A huge blood-colored moon hung at the edge of the cliff, illuminating the swamp below. So there's a random-ass fucking swamp. Why the fuck is Emlyn at a swamp? Read carefully, brother. I know! The tone changed so quickly. Hold up, fucking baby covered in blood. Whoa, wait. Let me reread this POV change. I think I need to read slow now, right? Okay, I think I need to read slow. Okay, hold up. A huge blood-colored moon hung on the edge of the cliff, illuminating the swamp below. The swamp was dark red and constantly bubbling, as though lava was boiling at the bottom of it. At a glance, there was no end to the swamp, like a vast ocean. Oh? Like a berserk sea, maybe? Blood red? At a glance, there was no end to the swamp, like a vast ocean. Oh? Pa, I still fell from the edge of the cliff and into the swamp. In the next second, a bubble appeared and silently burst, producing a blood-stained infant. The baby staggered, swam towards the cliff, and attempted to climb up. Pa, the stone beneath Emlyn's white feet shattered as he fell off. I'm imagining it. I'm trying to imagine it right now. So Emlyn's not the baby. The stone beneath Emlyn's white feet shattered as he fell off the cliff and into the swamp. What's happening? This sanguine Earl suddenly jolted. Oh, it's a dream. Thank God. What the fuck does that mean? A baby coming, like, out of the abyss or the... Oh, shit. I'm sorry. Red Bubbles, Berserk Sea. The true creator... Wait, who the fuck came out of the Berserk Sea in Chernobyl? Is that tied to it? After this, sanguine Earl suddenly jolted awake from his dream. He looked around in horror and confusion. After confirming that this was his room, where there were many extremely familiar dolls of different sizes, Emlyn slowly exhaled and said to himself in a rather solemn expression, that dream wasn't simple. As a shaman king, he had a good understanding of a dreamscape. Could this be the so-called divine revelation? But I didn't receive any revelations. Emlyn thought for a few seconds but couldn't come up with an answer. Then he decided to ignore the problem and prepare as Father Petrosky when he had the time. The incomplete moon that had its blood-red colors faded, illuminated the garden of the cathedral waves. Olga reached out his hand to grab the note delivered by the guild and read it. Verdu is looking for a pirate ship or a smuggling ship to Bansi. Bansi Harbor has yet to been rebuilt, but there's been no liner for all over the world that headed there. Verdu, who tears his limited teleportation opportunities, could only rely on extremely normal methods. Head to Bansi. Olga immediately frowned. He knew what Bansi meant, but he didn't understand why Verdu wanted to go to Bansi. Me neither. There should be nothing there. Oh, duh. Is Verdu trying to go to Utopia? No, even if the church has leveled Bansi. Oh, no, I lied. Whoa, we're going back to Bansi? Yeah, Bansi was destroyed. No, even if the church has leveled Bansi, there's still something abnormal about it. Furthermore, the church didn't investigate what problems Bansi had hidden in the past. As a cardinal, Olga was qualified to read through some confidential documents, including the records of the actions the Church of Lords of Storms had done when dealing with Bansi. In addition, he had also learned more from Mr. Fool in the world of Grimminsboro. After some thought, Olga quickly came to a decision. He planned on getting his shadow guard to arrange a pirate ship for Verdu. In this aspect, Olga knew many key people to aid him. It didn't need him to show his face in person or use his name. Of course, smuggling ships into the Roasted Archipelago were often equivalent to the pirate ship. Alright. Oh, fuck you. You guys have... Wait. I know what... Wait, no, I don't know what's gonna happen. I have seen this letter for a long time now. Wait, I know. I'm gonna read slowly. Wait, I thought the eye moment already happened. I remember so long ago, I can't wait for him to get to the eye reveal or some shit. Yeah, too many people excited for this. Dude, I remember like months ago Somebody's like, I can't wait for him to get to the eye moment, this and that. Some crazy shit, and I thought that already happened. Remember when Klein was affected? When Klein was affected after leaving Foggy Town, like his own Joe McGurry moment happened. So I'm like, he had a different persona, and I'm like, oh shit, that's the eye moment. I thought that this is the eye moment. Oh shit, it was me. I think. This is so good. This is so fucking good. Oh shit. All right, let's fucking go, dude. Music change, right? I remember you guys said music change. One of the best in fiction. Yo, brothers, sisters. What the fuck does I mean? Stop stalling. Got an exam a bit. No. Okay. Sorry. Let's lock in. Let me change the music. DSV link. I'm about to cry. This fucking moment when this song plays in the movie. Oh, you guys ready? Made in Abyss music slaps. I'm sorry. One thing, if you guys don't know, I saw Made in Abyss at a very low point in my life, and I was like, this series, man, it affected me on like some crazy ass level, man. It was wild. Woo! Let's go. We're getting the fucking eye moment. I thought this eye moment passed like in volume 4 when we were fucking Tycoon. And he was like speaking to Zoe. All right, let me lower the volume. Let's get everything adjusted for, I guess, a very banger chapter. Yeah, I know. We're going to read super slow. I know. I already know. We're reading slow. Chapter 1335 is called I am sitting on the chair. Okay, not that slow. Okay. I'm sitting on the chair in the police station looking at the mouths of two, let me lower the volume, looking at the mouths of two men in black and white checkered uniforms opposite of me. It's like they're talking about something. The man on the left had a cold expression on his face as if he had been through too many unfortunate events. Wow, this music is already getting me emotional. I'm getting emotional at the fact that I'm almost done with the series. The man on the right is a little inexperienced, and there's a hint of pity in his eyes. I don't feel any pain, nor did I regret delivering that final stab. Wait, let me reread this again. I'm sorry, is this Klein? I'm sitting on the chair in a police station looking at the mouths of two men in a black and white checkered uniforms opposite of me. It's like they're talking about something. The man on the left had a cold expression on his face as if it had been through too many unfortunate events. The man on the right is a little inexperienced, and there's a hint of pity in his eyes. I don't feel any pain, nor did I regret delivering that final stab. At that moment, I even felt that I had been liberated. The warm blood that sprayed on my body was like salvation from a god. I'm sorry, are these all of Klein's marionettes speaking to each other? I only regret my fervent pursuit of money and my youth. I had sacrificed my dignity, my body, and my freedom. Over the past few days at the police station, I have had enough peace and quiet. I had the opportunity to ponder this question at a deeper level. Far deeper than whatever I've been thinking about over the years. Me having a weak will and being immature were the source of the mistakes I made, but they weren't the only reason. Ever since I was a child, all the educations I received told me that working and striving hard is for that big house, those full floor-to-ceiling windows, and let in plenty of light. To have more than 3 servants, to have a lawn and garden I can call my own, and to have a silver-plated or even gold-plated cutlery, be able to host a banquet filled with delicacies, to run balls that are filled with melodious music, etc. The newspapers and magazines. Someone tell this man to read slower. Slower? Slower? The newspapers and magazines. I'd read also told me over and over again that only those that showed a sufficient level of decency can be called middle class. There are the true pillars of support for this kingdom. They are people of high class, excellence, zero mediocrity, and integrity, while having compassion and knowledge. At the same time, they also told me that what decency was, it's wearing a beautiful dress, matching expensive skincare products, cosmetics, and exquisite fashion, handbags from different occasions. It was to attend concerts, high teas, and gathered filled with class. I'm sorry, who the fuck is talking? Read slower? Stall longer. This is the only time where you guys are allowing me to stall, right? Here, let me quick break. No, I'm kidding. And all of this translated means gold pounds, and gold pounds. And all of this is translated means gold pounds, gold pounds. I'm sorry, is this Klein? Wait, he doesn't even talk about money anymore. He has not been talking about gold pounds in so long. Is he slower, still longer? Yeah, the one time we're hoping for... So, all right. I have to admit that pursuing a better life is instinctual for everyone. However, when the influences on a girl tells her in every aspect that when the mainstream views of society are all about appearance, exquisiteness, and elegance, it's very difficult to not have her thoughts become influenced. I don't know why this phenomenon is called. I only know that if all of this can't be changed, then a tragedy like mine will continue happening. One that happened for more and more often. When that happens, someone would definitely curse. Look at these gold-digging women selling out their souls. Subconsciously, I turned around and see that beautiful woman and bustling world outside. Bustling world outside? I see the bright red blood flowing in this world. Miss Tracy, are you listening to us? Whoa, what the fuck? Are all of Klein's marionettes like having like this existential crisis talking to each other? Miss Tracy, are you listening to us? A voice distanced my thoughts coming from the silently inexperienced policeman. I grin at him, not telling him I'm thinking about some philosophical question. What a joke, a gold digger who sold her souls in actuality thinking of such inane matters when she's been interrogated by the police. The policeman nodded and says to me, Miss Tracy, you'll be put on trial soon. We'll arrange a lawyer for you. I'm sorry we didn't manage to retain the witness. Just having his testimony isn't in your favor. It's okay, I say quietly to him. I would try my best. Oh my god, this whole time we're referring to I. There's no we're not speaking in third person. This is so trippy. Wait, I just realized this. Because all of them are Klein. It's okay, I say quietly to him. I will try my best to defend myself and repent for the crimes I have committed. I only hope that I can restrain life anew. I think for a moment and curl the corner of my lips. I say to these two officers, can you borrow a few books from the library for me when I wait to go on trial? Yes, Theonema of society and education. At that moment, I see the police officers in a daze and a hint of yes surprise. I sit at the far end of the model table and hear Miss Judgment describe the Utopia incident. After she finishes, I look around and hoarsely say, this is a ritual. Unsurprisingly, I see Miss Judgment's gaze freeze. I can sense Mr. Oh, what the fuck? Unsurprisingly, I can see Miss Judgment's gaze freeze. I can see Mr. Hangman and Miss Justice looking over with a hint of speculation in their eyes. At this moment, I can almost guess what they're thinking. They definitely suspect that this is the World Germansboro Sequence 1 ritual. And they are already long aware from the talks and terror gathering that the existence of a sequence or a Trudagog makes it impossible. Oh! Wait! They're gonna... Oh! Wait! Are we gonna find out? Wait, no, wait! Oh my god! I'm gonna fucking cry! Wait, does the terror come flying out? No fucking way, dude! Shut the fuck up! No way the terror club finds out! Oh shit, wait, no, is that what's happening? Wait, I got tear in my eye. Wait, this is hype. They definitely suspect that this is the World Germansboro Sequence 1 ritual, and they are already long aware from the talks in the terror gathering that the existence of a Sequence 0 true god makes it impossible for a Sequence 1 to exist. Regarding this matter, I have already prepared Regarding this matter, I have already prepared an explanation. It's to let them think about the ancient sun god and his 8 kings of angels. Unfortunately, no one raises any questions. They may have already made the connection to the kings of angels, or perhaps they believe that the ritual involving Utopia is mainly to help Mr. Fool awaken further. I look at the lady who is lost in thought, and I ask after some deliberation, am I getting too excited? Am I celebrating too fast? I look at, like, this would have been such a cool moment for that to happen. I look at the lady who is lost in thought, and I ask after some deliberation, Miss Tracy, where do your parents live? They've already passed away. The beautiful lady whose soul no longer belongs here replies with an ethereal voice. I lower my head and record it. Do you have any other relatives? Oh, this is getting sad with Tracy. The lady turns to look out the window and answers casually, no. I exchange looks with my colleague and raise my voice. Miss Tracy, are you listening to us? The lady opposite The lady opposite me retracts her distinct gaze and smiles at me. I don't know what she's thinking about. She's so quiet, like a flower blooming alone at night. This analogy comes from an anthology of poems. My brother told me that reading poems make me more charming. Of course, up until now, the poems have only brought mostly mockery. All the police officers believe that it's worthless. When I tell the lady opposite me about the trial, I see a faint smile on her face as she pleads to borrow a few books from the library, ones that I believe are different from the title. The smile and the names of the book combined together are in an indescribable beauty. After sending Miss Tracy back to the temporary detention room, I pack up the materials from the case and prepare to pay a visit to the lawyer. It's something that had been predetermined long ago. I lean back in my chair and listen to the moon Emlyn describe his dream. After Father Trotsky's appraisal, this dream has been confirmed to have not originated from Earth Mother. This Sorry, see, this is a COI reference. I should know this. This inevitably makes people cast their looks of suspicion at the moon towards a star prior to being corrupted by the mother goddess of depravity. I'm nearly amused by my own thoughts. As an experiencer, a master at deciphering dreams, I've not held back my modesty. I frankly reveal what I know. The three possibilities are that this dreamscape is trying to bait you into exploring and pursuing something to a certain extent and it can interfere with your fate. Secondly, this dreamscape hopes that you can interpret it deeply and understand it, then through this corrupt you in an indescribable manner. Oh shit, what if he gets corrupted? Thirdly, you are too worried about this matter of becoming a beauty goddess, so you dream of that remarkable... Wait, beauty goddess? Wait, isn't that what Emlyn is thinking about? Well, I thought we were talking about Klein. Thirdly, you are too worried about the matter of becoming a beauty goddess, so you dreamed of that remarkably terrifying scene. The third possibility doesn't need elaborating on. The action needs for the first two possibilities are the same. Don't think about it. Don't investigate. There's no need to leave Backland. With that said, I see Emlyn nod without hesitation. I know it's his way of handling things. A murder case. I browse the information of the case in my hand, and I use... This is... No. Reading comprehension hasn't struck. I don't think it's struck yet. A murder case. I browse the information on the case in my hand, and I use the changes in tone of my voice to express my doubts. You should hire a senior lawyer. I'm just a solicitor, and strictly speaking, I don't have the right to represent anyone in court. Slower! And I don't have anyone to represent anyone in court. Of course, this is only in the strictest of case. But in reality, that never happens. As long as the case isn't too serious and doesn't involve the criminal courts, a solicitor can provide assistance to the court. Could have enjoyed more reading its lawyer. No way. What? The policeman in a black and white checkered uniform opposite of me says with a smile, Utopia is only a small city. We don't have senior lawyers. We'll have to hire them from somewhere else. Besides this case, this is a case of self-defense. The sentence period will be very short, and the monetary aspect of this case doesn't exceed even £400. The trial can be done at the magistrate courts. When self-defense is deemed invalid, it'll be handed over to the criminal courts. He knows plenty. Is he planning on switching professions to becoming a lawyer? However, in normal circumstances, he still has to hand a homicide case that has unjustified self-defense to the criminal courts. This is the benefits of a small city. There are many things that aren't that strict. I think for a moment and replied tersely, I'll try defending the client by claiming innocence. Damn. Also, please arrange for me to meet Miss Tracy as soon as possible. After flipping through the information from before, I'm already quite confident in this case. The biggest problem now is whether Miss Tracy's image can lead to the sympathy of others. The fact that we're doing this whole case now, even without anybody here, what the fuck? Yes, although my solicitor license was forged from elsewhere, this cannot deny my professionalism. It just so happens that I made mistakes on the examination. Bansi Verdu wants to go to Bansi. I sit at the... Wait, POV change? Bansi Verdu wants to go to Bansi. I sit at the bottom end of the long model table and looked at the hangman who has reported to Mr. Full. I have some doubts about the development of the matter. Verdu, who's engrossed in mysticism and is trying to save Mr. Dorr, does the fact that Klein is talking a lot in first person, I'm kind of scared. What the fuck is gonna happen to him? Verdu, who's engrossed in mysticism and is trying to save Mr. Did I skip something? No. Verdu, who's engrossed in mysticism and is trying to save Mr. Door, does have certain reasons to search Bansi Harbor. Furthermore, he has stayed in Bayam for almost half a year, so it's very normal for him to come into contact with information about Bansi. The main problem is that the Hanged Man's previous surveillance didn't provide any corresponding signs, making Verdu's actions seem a little out of place. The importance placed on this matter has to be raised. I nod inwardly and hear Mr. Fool instruct, continue monitoring. I play the 7 strings guitar by the fountain in the municipal square. I use my knife and fork to slice the steak. In the cathedral, I describe the teachings of the goddess to the believers. I reach out my right hand and leave the carriage with the help of a gentleman. I get the new dress I have been enjoying for so long and I can't wait to change into it. I stride forward with my 4 legs and I'm being chased by a child. I laugh loudly as I totter about the play with a dog. Holy shit, dude. Klein is literally acting as a fucking god, bro. The fact that he's like doing all this. Suddenly we tremble. We look up in the sky. Suddenly we tremble. We look up into the sky and see illusionary thin lines strilling out from our bodies. They extend to an infinite height, extending beyond the grayish-white fogs. They extend into an ancient palace and the land in the hands of a tall figure shrouded in fog. What the fuck? This is so cool, dude. During this period of time, Klein's state has always been very strange, as though he had completely transformed into thousands of lives. Every clone has their own will, thoughts, knowledge, and fate. Dude, this is so fucking cool, dude. Oh my god, there's like 4 sentences left. This is so fucking cool, dude. Dude, he's digested his potion, bro. There's no shot he hasn't digested it. I got a tear in my eye. This is so good. However, above this collective consciousness was a primary consciousness that held control. It constantly suffered all kinds of attacks as though it could be assimilated by the sea of consciousness, so that had been formed autonomously at any moment. However, it eventually withstood the barrage of attacks, allowing Klein to maintain a certain level of clarity. This is so good. His true body had been lying underground. In St. Ariana Cathedral. His consciousness would occasionally rise and enter Sephiric Castle and occasionally sink into his body. All the scenes that the marionette clones experience constantly flash in his mind like a dream formed from large amounts of fragment. Wow, this is so good. This is so good, dude. Oh, man. I want to keep fucking reading, dude. Oh, this is so good. Oh, shit. I got fucking chills. That is so good. There's a popular short that depicts the scene. Dude. What do you mean a popular short? Yeah, Adam, I know what you're talking about. Like, somebody animate this? This is my favorite chapter in fiction. Dude, it's so good. This chapter made me go on a rant session for 2 hours. It's too good. I got a tear, dude. That is crazy. It's like, what the dude, I'm scared for Klein. Like, everything he's saying, I feel like he's like being self-acknowledgement of himself. Oh my god, I'm losing my words. Like, in the beginning when he's like, I feel like he's like slowly losing control, because he talks about how like when he was young and this and so forth, he always cared about money, and it's true. Like, he doesn't like talk about these things, or like he doesn't lampoon like he used to. Oh my god, this chapter is so slowly moving the story to the end. It is crazy. We're done in 60 chapters. Can you pull it into the artwork? Yeah, let me look at it. Let me pull up Discord. What the fuck was that? Wait, let me put chat on screen. Give me a sec. Give me a sec. Let me put chat on screen. 1 sec. Here, let me see. So this is Utopia. That is crazy, dude. What the fuck? I think King of Wands, I think that was my one of my favorite chapters. Like, it's like Klein has like reached a point in the life where he's like so aware of what he's doing. Oh my god. Oh, dude, they all look up and they see, oh my god, they see their spirit threads connected to a greater being. Wow, it is so wild. Oh, and that's him under the cathedral. That is so wild. So it's like all of his marionettes are self-aware. But it's like at the same time, even though they're aware, they have conscience, will, free will. Like even though all of them are aware, whenever they look up, they see their strings as connected to one like undisputed being. What? And the actual fuck, bro. Dude, this is like one of the best pieces of art in LOTM. And I know I've said that. Read my message. It's all Klein. Well, like, no, like the way they talk about how like they're all like they're all sentient. Like that's what they're saying. Like they're all aware. Like they're all aware of what's happening. Even though they're being controlled by Klein, they're all aware. Like it reached a point where all the marionettes of aware are of what's happening. But it's like they all know they're being controlled by like the one like being once they look up and see their spirit guides. Klein really feels like a god in this artwork, dude. It really does, bro. Bro, whoever drew this is a fucking genius, dude. Holy shit, I'm like at a loss for words. I'm genuinely speechless. Some of the coldest artworks are in Utopia, dude. Wait, I forgot. Wait, what was I supposed to read? One sec. Have you ever considered that you yourself is a marionette of some deity and you don't know it? Yeah, it's scary, man. Like, there's always fun, like, man, am I really doing what I want to do? Or is like somebody else like fucking pulling all this shit in the background? Like, that's really what this feels like, bro. That is such a crazy fear. Imagine if Klein was the bad guy, what he would do, bro. Dude, if Klein were to become a bad guy, I think he would like destroy the world. I really feel like he could do it. Like if he wanted to destroy the world, he could fucking do it. Let me tilt my camera a little bit. That way I'm centered. This is crazy. So we're gonna watch Ellen's thing. Let's watch that, man. That's so good. Let me pull it up one sec. I think it's chill if he lets me watch it, right? Yeah, I think it's chill. Is there music in the background?
In the municipal square. I use my knife.
Okay, yeah, he does. Let me switch to PC. There we go. LOTM chapter 1335. Everyone is me, Lord of the Mysteries. All right, let's see.
I play the 7-stringed guitar by the
Wait, let me lower the volume. Well, I paused at such a wrong part. It sounded like he said, I play the string on a fat.
I play the 7-stringed guitar by the fountain in the municipal square. I use my knife and fork to slice the steak.
Damn.
In the cathedral, I describe the teachings of the god.
Wait. Let me just mute this part. That sounds a little trippy. Wait, no, I need to hear it. Duh. Yeah, no, he has it up on YouTube. I think it's fine.
I reach out my right hand and leave the carriage with the help of a gentleman. I get the new dress I had been
that was the dress.
So long.
Oh, he wore the green dress.
And I can't
you sent the comic?
Into it. I stride forward with my
so he saw himself as a dog?
Chased by a child. I laugh loud.
I laugh what?
Loudly as I totter about and play with a dog.
Dude, look at them all look up. Why the fuck does this dude look like a mon, man?
Suddenly we tremble. We look up into the sky
and they realize
illusory thin lines drilling out from our bodies.
This is so good, dude.
They extend to an infinite height, extending beyond the grayish white fog.
This is so good.
An ancient palace.
This is so good, dude.
And land in the hands of a tall figure shrouded in fog.
Fucking Klein. This is Utopia. It's so unironic that it's called Utopia, though, bro. Like, it really isn't a utopia. That's the crazy thing. It really isn't a utopia. Shit, how do I don't know how to zoom in right here. This is all I got. I forgot how to zoom in on Discord. Like, they say it's a utopia, but it really isn't. I love what you did right there. You just said dude. It's like we can talk about this shit for who knows how long, dude. Like, and I feel like he's taking inspiration from other characters, right? Like this person, he based it off himself as Merlin Hermes, right? This, I feel like he based it off of his tycoon lifestyle. Like he's been acting as all these different personas for so life that he's able to draw inspiration from all his other personas, right? Like, dude, this literally just reminds me of Dunn with the hat. Some of that old art we looked at, like he probably got inspired from Audrey in this moment. Susie, I don't know who the kid would have inspired him. I don't know. This dude fucking looks like a mon with a top hat. Like, this dude pulled from like everything he could pull, man. Klein goated though for making this. It's so weird, right? Like it's so mysterious. Oh, Will is a child? Oh, I can see that. Yeah, Will was a kid. I mean, we had to like dig him out, right? The first time, which was fucking crazy. But dude, this is like and then earlier when they were talking, you guys had me laughing like, oh man, you got excited way too quickly. I genuinely thought at that point they would have realized like, if he's becoming a sequence 1, does that mean like Gurman was the fool the entire time, and then Leonard would be the only one that have an even crazier reaction? And then for a while I was thinking like, oh, that's where like Audrey also figures out, they're like, oh shit, Gurman is the fool. And I'm like, okay, the video game trailer, that piece of dialogue makes so much sense now. When Audrey referred to like your character, I guess when you make your characters like, you want to learn about the fool, or like it's really just, I guess, the story of a human. I'm like, I'm like, wait a sec, so maybe like Audrey found out that he was like Gurman, and then like, yeah, wait, Gurman is Klein. Gurman, like, he was this just random dude just like us from the beginning. Wow, man. I thought that's what was gonna happen, but it didn't happen. He found a way to explain it. Well, he didn't even ask because no one wanted to ask the question. Everybody came to their own conclusions. I feel like some would realize, is he the fool? And someone realized, okay, Kings of Angels and this and so forth. I'm speechless. This was so good. How am I supposed to go about my night now? I still want to keep reading. Let's quickly go over this. What am I even reading tomorrow? I'm feeling a little optimistic right now. I'm feeling like a little euphoric. I've been wanting to be sick for a month now. I think this is the time. I think November is the time where we're sick for a month. All of us need to be sick for a month. So let me look at Love's timestamps. This is what this dude is recommending. What did we just read? Holy shit, 35, right? We were at 35. We were at 35, which means we're going to start reading 36 tomorrow. So this dude recommended... Oh, wait, what the fuck, Love? You recommended, if you want to do a long stream, 36 to 53 in one go. Make sure you're well rested for this. Make an announcement for this stream. You put that in asterisks. Pure bold caps. All caps too, by the way. Make this an announcement for stream. All right. Okay, I think we'll split it. We'll split it. So tomorrow we're going to read chapter 36 to 44. That's 8 chapters. So I'll make it an... So tomorrow's 8 chapters. We're going to do it. Tomorrow's going to be 8 chapters. Tomorrow's 8 chapters. Monday, 8 chapters. And then, wow, Tuesday we're finishing volume 7. And I'm not even gonna lie, I think we're starting volume 8 right away. Damn. Yo, hey, I'm just gonna say it right now, if it's chill with you guys, I'm like, not easy. Dude, but like, think about it. I'm gonna have so much, like, you need rest? No. Like, we can take like a, look, we'll do this. When we finish volume 7, we're gonna read the notes. We're gonna read the notes. We're gonna read the author summary. We'll read the author summary, and then like I'll take like an hour break, bro. But I'm like, please trust us. Okay, we'll see. We'll see how we're doing. You guys are gonna gauge me. You need to be focused. But I like, okay, we'll take like a 2-hour break where I just end stream, go touch grass, and come back. Dude, no way. Volume 8 is even more complicated. It's crazy. I forgot I'm still recording. No, yo, you guys are... Someone put a restraining order on him. You shall not read. Bro, you need a top form to reach. Bro, I gotta do 10 push-ups right now or something. Delay race, please stall for volume 8. But dude, here's the thing, I don't even want to stall anymore. You know, I'm pretty good at stalling, but I don't even want to stall anymore. It's like, I just want to read, bro. Delay. This is the one fucking time you guys are allowing me to stall and rest. Oh my god. Wait, I lied. I did say I wait because I do want to fucking shit. I do want to put together like a little montage video of everything we've read up until that point. Fuck, man, I did want to do that. Easy, not stalling. It might be the end of the world. Or, you know, maybe we'll just go through it on stream. Perfect. Yes, perfect. Take a break for that. Oh, man. I'm so excited. I'm so fucking ready. Oh, I lost my place. Oh, I lost my place. Okay, we need to tally up how many times I said I lost my place. All right, man. Stop stalling, go to sleep. You will never forget this chapter, though. All right, man. I'm gonna let you guys go, man. That was pretty good. That was really good. Oh, man. All right, I'm gonna let you guys go. You need full HP, full MP. And you have some pots ready, like little potions. Some MP potions. Oh, it's gonna be good, man. All right, I'm gonna let you guys go. You guys have an amazing day. Good night, my man. Good night. Good night, you guys. Think 23 is still tuning in right now. I know it's like super late for you guys, or super early. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow for 8 more chapters, and then yeah, we're finishing volume 7 on Tuesday for sure. Damn, that's hype. We started volume 8 right away. All right, later, guys. No, we'll see what happens. We'll see. Like, dude, don't doubt me. Come on, guys. Have a little, guys. Have a little faith. We've been reading 1,300 plus chapters. For some unknown reason, maybe my like fucking third eye unlocks. Like maybe my Sharingan unlocks. Like when we finish volume 7 and we reach Nirvana and we have like full, like we have beaten the comprehension level. Like you never know, bro. Never say never. Bro says bye, proceeds to yep. All right, later guys. Peace, have an amazing day, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for more.